There we go. What's up, gang? How is everybody's Thursday shaping up? Welcome in. Let's see. I'm finishing up a couple things real quick. Can we hear me? Yes, we can hear me. Okay. Pause. Okay. Gang, I decided to play piano music. That's not what I said to do. It's like, that's not the music. What is happening? I don't know, Web. I have no idea. I can't help you. Oh, right. Matt, if you want, here is the link, and I'll send this to you in Messenger again so you can open it in a different window, but you'll be able to see the show and what we've got going on. So gang, real quick, sorry, we're a little bit behind this morning. That's the show, Matt. Okay, so here we are. Welcome in, everybody. So today on Artist and Industry, I have been angry about this since I first saw the first headlines. And I can't imagine like what Alec Baldwin is going through. But like from what I've been reading about stuff that's been coming out, the shit that happened on that set was rough. And so it prompted today's show. And it's not so much like pointing blame or anything about that show, but we're going to go over is like typical gun safety and gun usage on a movie set. And for that, I have my very dear friend, Matthew Stratton, joining us. What's up, dude?
How you doing, bud?
I'm good.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is not good, but not inevitable that it would happen if we're going to be rushing like we are in this industry and trying to push things through so fast. These should be taken slowly and carefully. Same with stunts, same with effects. The three things on a set that will kill you.
Yeah. Except for maybe the food.
It's all the time they want, but nobody's ever died of bad hair.
Yeah.
Except for
me. So gang, this is my good buddy Matt. We started working. When was the Black Shield? What year was that? Was that like 2005?
I think so. I thought the first one was that were you with us on that Buffalo Soldiers thing we did on that field?
No, that was after that. Because you and I met on the Black Shield. Because like,
that's right.
I came in as not the official stunt coordinator because I went in. I had an audition that I found on Craigslist, and I met this dude at a public works building, like in the park, but it was down on the south side. This is in Chicago, and we were talking. He was like, "Yeah, so like I really liked your stuff that you sent in." And it's like, unfortunately, like it's an all black cast, and I'm like, what am I doing here? He's like, well, I mean, I wanted to meet you. I was like, okay, that's cool. So we started talking, and I was like, so what's the what's the gag? And he's like, well, it's it's a superhero movie. It's a short film, but it's like a superhero movie, and this character's called the Black Shield. Like he finds out he's bulletproof. So like the whole thing takes place inside this convenience store, and like there's gonna be some hand-to-hand stuff, and we're gonna have some blank fire weapons. It's gonna be really cool. I was like, oh, cool. Who's your stunt coordinator? He's like, what do you mean? I was like, who's setting all that up for you so nobody gets hurt? He's like, oh, we were just gonna wing it. I was like, okay. Now, mind you, this is 2005. I am 2 years out of going to a 3-week intensive, following a 3-week intensive stage combat into a 3-week intensive of like learning like about stunts for movies. And this is not I did not get a certificate saying that like you are able to coordinate stunts or you are able to do stunts. It was a certificate of completion saying I had a basic working knowledge of stunts in the movie industry and that I could apprentice under some stunt people and actually learn the business. That I knew like the basics. that being said, I came back from that and I stunt coordinated my buddy's feature length film that he was doing because they were doing a horror movie. And not only that, but like I've used this example before. Some people should not have been at that stunt school. It's like people that are arena riggers that work in like, I don't know, Pontiac Stadium that are afraid of heights. You just shouldn't be
Right.
doing that job.
Right.
Um,
Well, one rule for
but
stunts that we are always told is if you don't know, don't do.
yeah, exactly. If you don't feel not just comfortable, but proficient in what you're doing, you shouldn't be doing that stunt. That's why I like I love driving. I say that I am a precision driver because I'm good at like doing the box formations and like I can put my side view mirror inside somebody else's window and hold it there while we drive. But like the slides and stuff, I'm not good at it yet. Like I just have not had the training. Like pulling 180s and that's just not my jam. So I don't do it. But so anyway, so this is me saying this 2 years after that process. Um, so I was like, well, we already talked about you not being able to afford me because I don't want to do it for free, but it's only one night. Let me know when you're filming. I'll come in and I'll just kind of be there as a safety to help out. So the guy's like, okay, cool. Hey, what's up, Nessie? Hey, DeBreno. So I show up and there's a strikingly handsome man in a cowboy hat and a leather trench coat there. And we start off and it's just like I remember like there was kind of like an eyeing up, like, who is this guy? And so we started talking, and I remember we bonded over Family Guy, like just because we
Yes.
were like we had bits in our head that we just couldn't get out of. And
Right.
and I realized that like you were there as like stunt safety and you were the armorer. I was like, well, shit, I don't need to be here, but I ended up hanging out anyway. And we ended up working on a bunch of projects after that together.
Yeah.
Because anytime somebody mentioned weapons, I was like, oh, you should call Matt Stratton.
Right.
In fact, I think that's what happened with the Buffalo thing because they were just going to use the reenactment people.
The
And I was
rodeo
like,
guys with their own guns. They're
yeah.
like, yeah, someone's gonna die.
So it's like, you should hire Matt. That's a whole other story.
Okay.
Uh, but hey, serving hands. Same with the medical field. Don't do what you don't know. Exactly.
Right.
But so anyway, the last time you and I worked together was with our buddy Mike Chait on his World War II movie
Yes.
called Wolfhound. We had how many rounds of ammo did we go through on that set? Like
Went through
2,500.
2000, yeah, 2,500 rounds of ammo between us and what the reenactors brought, and lots of
It was a
shooting,
lot.
a lot of big explosions that I did with stunts and around people as well.
Yeah.
So
Um, and I remember thinking during that movie, like, 'cause it's an independent movie, and I still hang on. I'm gonna go back to single cam for a minute, Matt. There is a picture of me that I still cannot share, and it is the most epic thing I will probably ever be a part of in a photograph. And I don't have a beard, which makes me very upset. But I still can't share this photo because the movie isn't out yet. We don't have it. Actually, hang on, Matt. Do we have a trailer yet? Do you know? I haven't
um
seen one. I know there's test
you find
footage.
what's on YouTube. If you punch in on YouTube, Wolfhound James Maslow, you can come up with a trailer that,
Oh,
but I don't think we have like any official that Mike released
I don't
trailer.
think we do
But
either.
the one that he did put on YouTube is really good. It's really good.
All right, hang on. Let me look here. Wolf Hound James Maslow. Oh, look, it finished itself. Um, Room for Murder. That is a different Wolfhound. Full teaser clip. Nope, that's not it. Thriller. Maybe they took it down. I don't see it anywhere.
Okay, they may have.
Yeah, I don't see it anywhere. Well, anyway, yeah, James Maslow is the star of the movie. Trevor Donovan's in it. Bunch of prettier men than me. And it's super cool. It's based on a true story about this pilot that gets shot down behind enemy lines, and then he goes and rescues the crew of a bomber that was shot down that he was flying
Wingman for.
wingman for. Thank you. I was gonna say coverage. I'm like, that's not the term. And it's super cool. We shot the whole thing in Michigan. It was over. How long were we filming? Like 26 days, something like that.
The initial filming was 26 days, and then I came back with them for another 5 days to do all the miniature planes for them. So we actually built all the miniature planes and blew them up for camera.
Oh, that's right. Oh, wait, yeah, because we came back. I remember we did some reshoots like for a week or two
Something like that. Yeah.
back at the farm. So that was another 2 weeks. So yeah, no,
Right.
it was close to probably 40 or 50 days. That's not including like y'all, they did like aerial footage, like
Oh yeah.
dogfighting shots in Virginia. Like this movie is going to look gorgeous.
Right.
Um so anyway, so that happened. But we went through 2,500, maybe closer to 3,000 rounds of
Right.
ammo. There were so many explosions on this movie. But nobody got hurt.
No. No, we never had
Um,
one incident with a firearm or the fact at all.
and many of our actors were not like they hadn't fired. Some of them hadn't fired a gun before, or they had fired it very few times. But it's actually, I guess that's a good place to start. Matt, where would you like give us a breakdown, if you will, of like what happens on set during the day when you have firearms? Like,
Right. So I've been talking to them probably for a week beforehand of figuring out the set and what the scene's going to be. We've gone through page turns, we've gone through pre-pro production meetings and whatnot. But I don't know what the scene's going to look like until the camera's in place to see what they want to see. And they normally try to have it too close. And already I'm thinking like what load size we're going to do for camera. If it's outside in sunlight, we do fulls. If it's inside where we don't have a lighting problem like the sunlight, we go halves or quarters. And then they always throw me into such a short distance between two actors who have to work at that time or the actor and the camera that it's inside of even a quarter load safety zone. So when I say full load from the, so where is it? There it is. So if this is like the same thing that was just used on Rust, same type of gun. But
okay,
my safety distance starts from the end of this muzzle to wherever. Full load is off this muzzle 20 feet. Nothing, nobody, nothing in that 20 feet. Because as I tell people, there's the cone of ouch. The cone of ouch is we're shooting a blank, so there's powder in there. So that means it's matter. You
cone
can't
of ouch.
really get rid of all the matter in there. So any powders that are shot are going to turn into hot ash, small debris. And what I worry about on that is the eye. I mean, your retina, I think the skin tensile strength of your retina is the same as a single ply tissue paper. And that's how I know the distances. I fire at single ply tissue paper. If I don't see a mark caught by that paper or a piece of debris or a hole burned in it, I know that's the safe distance for anybody's eye if they ever catch anything in their eye. And I tell people that they say, "What do you mean by the cone of ouch?" And it's like, so when I fire, the flame's going to come out this barrel. If it's not restricted by the diameter of that barrel, it's going to start to spread out. So that means for every inch forward, could be an inch wide, 2 inches wide, whatever. So that means by the time I get to the end of that 20 feet, it could be 20-foot diameter of shit's going to hit you, possibly. So that's why we want you to be outside of that. Also, you're displacing air. You're displacing air that's coming out of that muzzle, which is going to affect your sinuses and your eyes. As I put it in the rule, never shoot off an RPG in a closet. Not a good idea. And I always have had people want to use a 12 gauge with a full load down a hallway. And I'm like, do you realize that at the end of that hallway, you're going to feel every inch of PSI air pressure that's pushed by that concussion of that shotgun? And they don't think of that, and I know it, and it may be me being too cautious, but if I'm going to be overcautious, nothing's going to happen.
Exactly. I remember. Do you know what? Do you know what an airzuka is? Have you ever seen those?
Yes, I actually have one. They had the big
Okay,
red handle. You pull it up and you knock your
yeah.
little torpedo there. Yeah,
So for those of you that don't know what that is, it is a large plastic cone with a bag on a bungee cord inside that you pull out, so you like basically double the air, and then you let it go, and it pushes it through the cone. I got hit in the face with one of those. Yeah, Riddles. We're talking about gun safety in general, but the Rust incident is what sparked this. Um, I was at Navy Pier walking to work, and I got hit with one of those from like 25 feet, and it was so distracting to me that like I stumbled. I was like, "What the hell
sure.
was that?" And there was a dude like, "Hey," at the toy store in Navy Pier, and I was like, "What is that?" And I walked over, and he showed me what it was. I was like, "That's awesome," but like that's just bungee force.
Right. I
Like,
have
because
the
I
toy.
remember,
I have the toy that was made in the '60s, and it looks like a bazooka. You pull up a big red handle, cock it, and pressurize it, and you shoot at targets, and it would hit targets up to 10 feet away, knocking them down. And they actually had to take it off the market because it created ear damage for the kids firing the thing.
oh my god, it's like the lawn darts. It just didn't survive.
Yes.
Wow.
Again,
Yeah,
lawn darts.
I remember when we were, because you and I were talking about this during Black Shield, like because I had seen there was a company when I was doing the SAFD stage combat workshop in 2002. There was a company that came in because they had like a weapons day, so like they brought in people that you could buy like legitimate stage combat weapons from,
Right.
and they had a Western company that came in that was doing like some lasso stuff, and then they showed us the blank fire weapons. They're like,
Right.
so we're going to show you, we're going to talk about some gun safety, just because if you're thinking about doing this, this is where you need to start with this. And
Right.
they did the whole Coke can thing. Like they put an empty Coke can on a table and put the gun next to it and fired, and it blew a hole through both sides of it. And it's like,
Right.
so how much stronger is aluminum than human tissue?
Right.
This is what you're getting into. Because I remember when we did with honor, I talked to you
Right.
specifically because I wanted to recreate that. So we put a full water bottle in a C stand. It
Yep.
was like, so because that for a short film, my God, there was so much that went into that fucking movie. We had a oh wow, what is happening here? Rainbow puke fix. There we go. We had an Apache Cobra
Yeah.
fly in for
Privately
part of
owned
this
helicopter.
scene. Yeah, yeah, a private helicopter come in for this. Like it was, there were a lot of favors called in for this movie. We'll just put it that way. But we started off doing that safety test because our two main actors didn't speak English.
No. And they never
Everything was
fired
being translated. Yeah, and they had never fired a gun. It was two
They never even
brothers.
seen a real gun because they were from where were they
It was
from?
China.
Taiwan? China.
I think it was China. Yeah, because their
Yeah.
their their parents owned a Chinese place down by the Red Line in Chicago, like right next to I want to say Northwest, but that's not the right school. Um, not Loyola. What the hell's the name of the college that everybody goes to that makes movies in Chicago?
Oh,
Um,
DuPage.
at again the other
Oh, no,
one, not
Columbia, Columbia.
Columbia. Jesus, yeah, Columbia College. Weapons. You guys had fun weapons to play with. Yeah, no, we absolutely did. Oh wait, lawn darts was one of my favorite outdoor games as a kid. We had so much awesome toys back then. Agreed. Mind you, I also played with weapons as a kid. That you're not wrong, serving hands. I didn't even have to.
In the 70s, it showed if you had logic or not. If you survived playing lawn darts, you're going to think your way
Oi.
out of the problem.
You're not. Yeah. Um. Yeah. We don't have those anymore for
No, we don't.
solid
But
reasons. But yeah, we put that water bottle in a C stand, and then you put the muzzle of a gun right up to it, and it blew it apart. And it's like, okay, so have you ever tried to like make a water bottle explode or like run over it with a car? Sometimes they just don't pop. Even the lid stays on. This
right.
is what we're dealing with. And
Well, that's why I've told people. It's like when you think about this with a blank, a full load in a 9 millimeter. Okay, so it was a bench load, meaning it's an actual bullet being pushed by powder. The muzzle pressure is 36,000 psi in that gun to push that bullet initially out of the chamber, out of that casing. With a bench load of a full loaded 9mm blank, we can sometimes exceed what they do. So that still means we're 36,000 psi and possibly beyond of gunpowder pressure in that chamber that's now coming out that muzzle. Granted, on a semi-automatic 9mm, there's a restrictor put down the barrel to hold the right amount of pressure to make the gun cycle like it normally would. However, we're not pushing a bullet. So it only takes, they said, 95 psi to break the temple of your skull, and it takes 110 psi to break your forehead to where you'll get brain damage. We're talking 36,000 psi.
Yeah.
So when John Eric Hexum in the 80s did his scene and got bored and grabbed his gun that he had on in his character and was fucking around, and he put the muzzle of that gun to his head, which was a 44 and a revolver, and pulled the trigger, he put this side of his skull to this side of his skull, and everything in between just got in the way. And that was because that was done not by an armorer, but by a prop master / armorer. And why he ever left that actor with a loaded gun on his own, that's the biggest mistake.
Okay, so I mean, the elephant in the room is Rust right now. Like that is the case. So going off of just what I've read that's been released, first of all, if you are an armorer on set, does the first AD ever hand off a gun?
Hell no. I don't
Exactly.
even want to take it. You've been with me. I actually told that first AD that kept grabbing the guns, I said, I will take a hammer to your hand and you will never be able to pick up another gun with that meat fist ever again.
It's like, why are you so angry? It's like, because you're not paying attention.
Right.
It's like,
exactly.
It's like working with power tools. The minute you stop respecting it, you get cut.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
I mean, everybody says guns kill. Yes, kind of what they were designed to do, whether it be your game that you're going to eat that night or the guy who's trying to kill you. Yes, this is a tool. This is not a hammer like you see him banging up a wanted poster in the Western. This is a gun. It's made to be a gun, not a hammer. So it is, again, like you just said, it is a tool, and it does one job, and it does it very well. It just hopes that the naked monkey holding onto it is a little smarter than the gun.
Right.
Because it don't care.
So the gun was handed to Baldwin by the first AD.
Yes. Now the problem therein, he's the last stopgap of safety and inspection.
Yeah.
So he's the guy that when I come on the set, the first thing I do, again, the same model gun that they use, there's a gate on the side here. You open that up. That's where you load and unload it. I then put this to the second cock, which then releases the cylinder to free spin. I then show the first AD that every cylinder is empty. And then when I'm done, just to make sure that I'm right, I dry click all 6 cylinders on a gun to show that gun is empty. Then,
and Matt, when you do that, just for clarification, you don't point that at another human being, right? You point that away from a human being.
Safe distance, never at anybody. Only time I've ever pointed a gun at myself and fired it off was with an airsoft blowback, and the action on that scene had to be put to the actor's head and fired. I do it to myself to let him know all you're going to feel is air pressure hitting you from this gun. Nothing coming out. I'll do it to myself to show him I feel confident. I know what it's going to do. Then I give it to him. I ask him to shoot himself in the head so he feels it, so it does not ruin his scene and startle him. Otherwise, that's how I always do it. If it's an automatic, you bring it in slide locked open so you can see the chamber and the mag well. I hold the magazine in one hand. I hold the gun straight up. This is not an automatic, but I hold it straight up, showing where the magazine would be. They can see daylight through because the top's open and I have the magazine. I say, there is no mag. There's nothing in the mag. Your chamber is empty. I click it and I dry fire the gun right there to show them exactly. Everything is inert. Everything is cold. Everything is cleared. and they never have a question after that.
So, and I've heard, I've read a couple different things. Well, apparently, so I don't even know where to start on this. So
So
the first
what I
AD handed him. Go ahead.
yeah,
Yeah, please. Yeah, tell
what
me
I
what you've
what
heard.
I read was one, she had the guns on set. I heard that there was a scheduled training day on the range, shooting the guns live. She brought the guns out, set them on her cart. She was obviously not present in her cart, meaning she could have turned around to another one of her carts and be working on these guns. She may have been, it was probably shot, put in storage, not cleared because they obviously probably rushed her, maybe that day. I'm speculating. But as we've seen on set, they want now, 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 now.
Yep.
So, which means it wasn't cleared on that day. It might have been still had a round in it. She laid it on the cart. She was getting ready to start clearing it, cleaning it, inspecting it. She laid the guns down, turned her back for a moment, and Mr. AD flew in, glory hawking all the way through, grabbed the gun to take it to Mr. Baldwin. They never, ever deliver a gun to set, even a prop. I bring it in and demonstrate it. First AD is just there to be the final stopgap inspection. They're not there to handle any props or weapons. They don't walk in with knee pads. Stunts won't let them do that.
Mm-hmm.
So him stay, he crossed the lines. He did not stay in his own lane. You be the first AD, and I'll be the armor. I'll be the one to bring it to him. That's where that guy made the mistake. She, although from the very get-go, she said she was very nervous about things and not feeling comfortable. Again, don't do what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't feel confident, step back.
Now,
Say, look,
and what I've read is she comes from an armorer family, so she's kind of like the nepotism got her into the business, I guess. But like,
yeah,
and I've also read that like she said she wasn't feeling confident in herself when she took her first job, which I think was a Nicolas Cage movie.
right,
But even then, there was a misfire or something that was
something like
close to
that.
him, where the gun was fired without warning, and he got pissed because like
Oh yeah,
quote unquote, you just blew my fucking eardrums out, and he walked off
right.
set.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one thing I worry about. In fact, I worked at a job called Gun with Val Kilmer and 50 Cent, and he came up to me because the scene he has to do is we have a gentleman hanging upside down by cables, getting his genitals beat with a bat for the scene. Val
Okay.
Kilmer has to shoot a guy in the knee and put the gun in his mouth. So, on one, I have this poor gentleman hanging upside down, flooding his brain with blood while he's getting himself beat in the crotch with a rubber bat, which everybody thinks is safe to swing for the stands. No, it's still going to hurt the guy. Be
Yeah.
careful.
Getting hit
And
in the
now you're
crotch.
going to have a gun
Also,
put
he's
in your
upside down. That has a time limit on it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And now he's got to worry about somebody putting a gun in his mouth. So my main concern wasn't for Val, it was for this guy. I had to make sure
Yeah.
he felt completely ecumenically safe and sound and that I had him covered. So normally on an automatic, when you fire the last round on a gun, the magazine has a little tab which engages your slide lock, which locks the slide back. So to defeat that so that it looks like the gun did not run out of ammo, I grind that tab off so that there can be no ammo in the gun, but it still closes the slide. Therefore, if it happens on camera and they run out of ammo, they technically didn't.
Right.
This way, Val could shoot one round out of that gun and stick a cold, empty gun in that guy's mouth because there'll be no more follow ammo. In fact, I did that so we don't even have to use a dummy round. There will be nothing in that chamber, nothing in that barrel, nothing that could do anything. And I demonstrated that to Val because he was teasing me all day, calling me reenactor because I had my cavalry braids on. And he goes, "Hey, reenactor, how are you going to do this?" And I told him right there, I said, this and this and this. And he knows enough about guns. He goes, "How's that going to work?" And I demonstrated how it didn't lock. I said, "You will have one round. I will load it in front of you, the gentleman you're shooting, and that poor guy hanging upside down whose mouth it's going to go into. I load the one round in the magazine, put the magazine in, made the gun hot, decocted for Val. You have one round. After that, that gun's cold, completely cold, completely unempty. It's completely unloaded." And I showed that to him, showed that to the actor, showed that to the poor guy I'm hanging upside down, the stunt coordinator, first AD, director, and the camera op. We're all there present. This is how this is going to go down. We did that take 7 times. Never had a problem. And the
Mhm.
guy who was hanging upside down came up to me afterwards. He goes, "That was about the safest thing I felt all night." And I go, "You didn't feel good hanging upside down?" He goes, "No, my head's gonna explode." I go, "What about being beat with a bat?" He goes, "Oh, I felt every one of those." And I'm like, "Oh my god." The worst thing you need to worry about is somebody blowing the back of your head out with a blank. And Val then came up to me afterwards. He goes, "I think that was the best thing I ever seen." He goes, "I worked a show with a scene similar to that where I had to shoot 2 guys and put a gun to a guy's forehead or under his chin." And he goes, "They called cut. I pulled the gun away, dropped the hand, I pulled the trigger, which I know I shouldn't do. The damn gun went off. I then pulled the trigger 2 more times. The gun still kept going off." The guy who was the armorer was appointed by a professional armorer. Oh, he did stunts actually. He wasn't really a gun guy. And he thought it was okay to load 5 rounds for a scene that uses 2 rounds.
Well,
Because he
yeah,
wants,
because then I don't have to do it after the take. It'll just be ready.
and it won't lock the slide back. Except for the fact that if he would have put it under the guy's throat and fired, he would have separated the spinal cord and neck. Sure, could have killed him. It was a 9mm full for what Val was telling me. 36,000 psi still coming out that barrel.
Jesus Christ.
So having people do that, and this is a long, long time ago. Having people do that a long time ago has always made me adapt new ways, safer ways, better ways to approach it, show it, inspect it. Because again, if I'm doing this for an actor who's acting that day, they have enough shit on their head. They have word salad going like crazy through their head to figure out that pages of dialogue, how they're going to emotionally deliver the scene. They do not need to be worrying about what's in their hand at all. I make them play with every little nifty bit on a gun, how to eject this, how to lock that, blah, 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 blah. I go through it until they know it's second nature. And the one second nature I always make them not learn is don't put your finger on the trigger until we're doing the shoot. It's always this. Even on a rubber gun, it's always this. If
Yeah,
you're
because
drawing
you treat a
from the
rubber gun
holster,
like it's an actual gun. It's
right. Even if you're drawing it from the holster, the finger is off the trigger until you're at full arm extension for where you're going to shoot. That's when you touch the trigger. So that's why we make the phrase "keep the booger picker off the pew pew switch."
I'm
Basically it.
sorry. What?
Keep your
Keep the
booger
what?
picker off the pew pew switch. And I guess I use
Wait, no, stop talking. Hang on. I'm going back to single cam. Gang, if you've ever heard me use the phrase, "I'm going to stab you in the mouth with a brick or punch you with a truck," this is the man responsible. Just I want to clear that up. All right, we're back. Anyway,
but you're going to remember that. You're going to remember that rule. Even if I make you laugh and giggle, you're going to remember that, you know. And I do that. It's lighthearted, but it gets the message across.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I mean, like, this is why I love working with you. Cause like gang, the other reason that I wanted to have this conversation, especially with Matt here, is I have done this job with Matt. I have done the armorer position with Matt as an assistant, not as the actual full armor, but like I've helped make explosives. I've handled weapons and I've loaded them and, handed them off under Matt's instruction. Because like I'm not a gun guy. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I understand the basic mechanics of there's an explosion out of this end. Don't point that at a person. So as soon as this happened, I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like, and first of all, like the AD gave him the gun. I was like, okay, that's a red flag. And then I started delving deeper, and I think LA Times put out an article like they were there was a lot of bullshit happening on this set already. First off, and this also goes back to one of the last conversations we all had together, which is about when the IATSE strike was possibly happening, which I still think needs to happen because from what I've heard, they haven't really gotten shit. So they were filming right next to Albuquerque. Is that where they were? I think they're in New Mexico, right?
Yeah.
So they're at a stage that is next to Albuquerque. Instead of getting rooms, which they told they were going to, in Albuquerque, very close, they were given rooms at like some motor stop 50 miles away. Right. So that's adding another hour and a half to 2 hours to their commute. So an hour to 45 minutes each side of the day, after you've already worked 12 to 13 hours. So to save money, because they had to get a lot of room. So they went with the cheaper place instead of the place that was closer and safer. That's number one. Number two, this was not the first time a weapon had discharged on set. One of the stunt guys had complained about it because he was handed a gun and it literally went off in his hand, apparently, like without even pulling the trigger. So that tells me, one, those weapons were not being taken care of.
Right.
Because if they were stuck in a position where the hammer could go and have a misfire like that, they obviously weren't being cleaned or maintained.
Right.
On top of all of that, the camera crew had expressed concerns about this, obviously because they're in the danger zone with all this shit.
Sure.
They had expressed concerns about this. They hadn't been taken seriously, so they fucking walked. Camera crew packed up their shit 6:30 that morning and left, and they replaced them with non-union crew. Now the DP is a different story. The woman who got killed, because she stayed on because she was the DP. And she even said, like, I feel like I'm losing friends and family right now because they're having to go, but I have to stay. And they replaced them with non-union. And then all that shit happened. So this is all like her death, what happened with the gun safety, the lack of safety meetings, because apparently it was kind of yep, we're doing the exact same shit we did yesterday. Here we go. And that was the safety meeting.
Right.
Again, you don't respect it, you're going to get bit. But this is just more fuel for the fire that, things need to change in this industry. Like, people wear working 16-hour days as a badge of honor, where it's not. Like, you need sleep, you need rest. It is not a it's not a keep having brain farts. It's not sustainable. It's not a sustainable situation for you to do, especially when you have to work one job and then you're probably going right to another job after this one's done.
Right. I mean, my take on the whole thing is, it's right now, the idea of art in our industry has been dead for years. It really has. I put this when I was working a TV show and we're cranking along, and I looked at my buddy. I said, "We're not making art. We're making sausage. We're just cranking it out. Don't ask what's in the sausage because you won't eat it. But we're just pumping out product. And if you're going to do that with something artistic, you're going to kill it." And I was just talking to somebody.
Like, that's the way it was in like the 40s and 50s too. They were just cranking out movies. I mean, I think it's easy to say that's the way this industry's always been, though.
But the mentality of the workforce at the time was the idea of, sweat equity was a big deal. Mastership of something that you're doing was it. Right now, we don't have master plasterers or scenic painters or any of that stuff, or sculptors. You don't see those in the credits anymore because now computers take it over. Those were people who spent their entire lives to master a craft. That's why it's called the craft. You cannot. That's what I'm trying to think of. You cannot make something corporate if it's a craft. It doesn't work. I was talking to somebody and I said, "Do you realize that guns are equally as old in this industry as cameras are?" The first camera that rolled, the first gun fired, because it was I think it was 1903. It was Edison's Great Train Robbery. They weren't using rubber chickens; they're using fucking guns. Now it's 1903. The mentality of firearms, because they were mostly owned by everybody, used by everybody. Therefore, safety was very, very ingrained in how they did that. How come in over 100 years of us making movies, not that I'm diminishing this, don't take me wrong when I say this, in over 100 years of making movies, we've had 3 major deaths. None of which, except for this one, was by an armorer. John Eric Hexum in the 80s, The Crow, and this one. And that's only been in the past 20, 25 years that we've suddenly cranked out all these accidents when we've been doing it over 100 so years.
Mm-hmm.
In reality, nobody has a safety record that good.
It's
Nothing.
true.
No product produced in this world by humans has a safety record that good. But what happened and what ruined that safety record? Stupid people. Stupid
Well, I mean,
people not paying attention, not qualified, that don't know, that don't have the self-confidence to say, I don't know.
mhm.
That's how it happened.
Well, I mean, and I think you hit the nail on the head too. Like back in the day, like everyone used guns. Like everybody knew how they worked, and it was like it was ingrained from. It's like it's like being taught swordsmanship when people were using swords. It was like this
Right.
is how this is done, and everybody had at least a working knowledge of the basics.
Well,
Um,
anybody who went through old theater at the time of Seahawk. God, I can't remember his name. Errol Flynn.
yeah.
When those people went through a theater course or theater college, you were taught sword fighting and
Hmm.
ballroom dancing and all
Hmm.
these other things that now they're half the time the actors don't even know how to drive a car. We use them every damn day.
Yeah.
So again, it's the idea of master class. You know, there has to be a reason for apprenticeship, which is also what the union is about, is apprenticeship. But I have not seen that. I see that I rarely see that in machining. Now that's industrial, but you can't claim that you're a master machinist if you don't know how to read the blueprints, how to use the tools, and you're going to
Yeah.
screw up somebody's job, and possibly that job could be a part that goes on a bridge that's carrying your mother over that river that day. You don't want that. But it's okay that we can have people going, "Oh, I'm a gun wrangler. Oh, you must be the armor." No, a wrangler is. I think you were with me on set when I was talking to somebody. He goes, "I want to work with you. I'm a gun. I've been a gun wrangler." And I was talking to him. I said, "Oh, great. Can you give me that coffee over there?" And he brought me the coffee. I said, "Thanks. Now you're a coffee wrangler." That's what a wrangler is. You get it. You bring it back. You don't know shit about it. Where the extractor's at, how the firing pin works, what the hell we're putting into it. That's an armorer's knowledge. Wrangler means you go, you get, you come back. Or in the Air Force, aerospace lighting technician means you know how to turn the lights on and off in that room. Aerospace above your head, lighting, that's what it is, technician, turning on and off. They did that to us in basic training. Who wants to be an aerospace lighting technician? And people are like, what the hell kind of job is that? You can turn the lights on and off in the room. That's it. Fancy title, but no knowledge, you know. And again, it's the idea that people got into these jobs because they were pressed for time, because they were pressed for money, and this is how it all ended up. Right now, I have a Western talking to me in Montana that wants to fire the armorer they have now because he's tied by third party to Thel. That pissed me off, and I told him, I said, you know, you've already made me not interested in talking to you because you're demonizing Thel, who was not there, had nothing to do with what was going on. And also, the girl, even though her last name is Reed, if you know it's a hyphenated last name, is married into the Reed family. That's not his daughter, Laura. In fact, I know Thel and I know Laura, and she does know her shit. She could tear apart a belt fed and put it back together and reload that thing faster than I probably can. She knows her shit. This girl was hired only because they have a hyphenated last name of Reed. They tied that to the legend of Thel and thought they must be good enough because they went non-union, because they wanted to go on the cheap. And I told this production, who was asking me to be both stunt coordinator and an armorer on this Western because they wanted to save some money. And I said, you already said the wrong thing to me. If you do not have the money to pay for specialists, professionals in their craft, you do not have the money to do this movie. No,
Also, you can't pay me because
no.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I know what
You've
I'm
already
doing.
told me that you can't afford me. You know, somehow I just went to $150 an hour, you know, and
That's
no
called
longer can I use
asshole
the term.
tax.
Yeah, and no longer can I use the term if somebody goes, "Well, I can do it better without you." I used to say, "Fine, Toys R Us is right down that way." I can't say that anymore because we don't have a Toys R Us in the world anywhere. So now I'm doubly screwed, you know. But
Eric, if you want to, yeah, if you have some questions you wanna ask, yeah, hop in. I'll go to the 3 cam. Um, yeah, man, it pains me. And so here's another thing. I don't know if uh some people, I think pretty much everybody in chat right now probably knows who Brandon Lee was.
Yes.
Um, he was the second death that you mentioned, and that was on the set of The Crow. And now, from what I've been told, there was one of the blanks that you use with the BBs in them that was put in for the scene, but then that wasn't, and that was fired, and the primer went off enough to dislodge the bullet from the casing. That was pulled out, and then unbeknownst to somebody, because they didn't check the barrel, a blank was put in, and that fired the projectile.
I got the full story from Jeff, who was the producer, whose idea made that whole situation happen. Jeff sent the armorer home because he felt there was an expense they didn't need on that night because the gunfire was done. Jeff then came up with a creative idea with the DP of seeing demonstrate a close-up of the revolver. It would have dummy bullets in here, and you could see them rotating as he cocked the barrel or cocked the cylinder. That's what they wanted to see. The armorer had locked the gun in the locker. The prop master had a key to said locker, which they normally do. He went and got the gun, and they realized they did not have dummy ammo. Somebody else on the set, not knowing who, it could have been a gripper, gaffer, crafty for all I know, said, "Oh, I've got 44 in my car. I can make you dummy ammo." Pulled the bullets, poured the powder, stuck the bullet back in, and gave it to him as a prop. Now, supposedly they dropped BBs in them, like normal prop dummy bullets are made. However, when ISS, Hand Prop Room, any of these other big prop houses make dummy bullets, and most of them are made by Joe Swanson, who makes all of our blank ammo for the whole entire industry. The primers are actually the caps that are taken off the line before the nitrate bath, which is the explosive powder put into a primer to make it function. So essentially, these are just little metal caps with nothing in them, and that's what's pressed in to represent a good primer.
So the primer, like the primer on the blank or the on the dummy bullets, there's nothing explosive about them. Period.
They're completely inert. Okay,
that's what I figured.
The casing is unloaded or not unloaded. Never has powder put in it. It has a BB dropped in, so that as that BB bounces around in there like an empty spray can, you can tell it's empty. The bullet is just pressed in for looks. But when they made those dummy ammo, they only powdered the powder. They didn't drop a hammer on every one of those primers to fire them off. Because the camera is not going to see this side.
That end.
Only this end. So, yeah, you have a bullet in there, but you have a live primer. So when they did that scene and he cocked that gun, they called cut. He pulled the trigger, thinking it's a dummy. Now, I tell actors don't do that because even though those primers are inert, the camera wants good primers. And if everybody keeps dropping the damn primers on my inert primers, the camera can't see them because they all have a dent in them. And it costs you money to ruin those. So the primer has enough force to separate the bullet from the casing and lodge it into the forepart of the barrel right here after the cylinder. This is called the forcing cone. When bullets come into that area, the taper on a barrel actually comes down for the bullet to grab the rifling. The bullet went into that taper cone and lodged. They freaked out because it made noise. They dumped out all the rounds in the garbage can. They realized the bullet's gone. Oh my God, where did it go? It's not in the casing. Where did it go? We don't know. We don't care. Unload the gun. Put the gun back in the safe where it was, exactly where it was. Lock it up. Don't tell the armorer what happened so he doesn't spank your dick for being stupid. He comes in the morning, and of course, like they always do, come on, hurry up, load the gun. We gotta go. Throws a full load 44 in there behind it. Now, the problem with that is the blank doesn't go all the way. So you have a gap of airspace. With all revolvers, you have what's called a gas leak. The cylinder never touches the barrel all the way. So there's gas leak. If you look on there, Jerry Micklick does a demonstration of holding a hot dog right here next to a revolver, and it severs the thing, blows it off just from the gas pressure on a live round. A friend of mine was going to shoot a revolver, and he had two hands on it. He did this. I told him no. And I told him, I said, give me the gun. I went in the house, got a hot dog, and I showed him what would have happened to his finger. Blew the end of that hot dog clear off. So you lose gas pressure from that gap. You lose gas pressure from the distance between the casing and the bullet. Therefore, the speed at 36,000 psi I talked about before is less. So now you're trying to push the bullet down the barrel through the rifling with a lot of restriction. As that bullet traveled and hit Brandon, it's now below speed. So when it hit the rib cage, it deflected and it unfortunately hit him in the spleen. He would have been much better being shot with a live 44 that day. He would have been fucked up for 6 months, but he'd be alive because it would have gone straight through and not hit the spleen. That's unfortunate. But that is how stupidity compounded itself to kill Brandon.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now joined by our friend and favorite black hole, Eric Frankhouse.
Hey, Matt, good seeing you again. It's been a long time.
Yes, it has.
I saw you when you're out here in Milwaukee, and that might have been 12 years ago now, 10 years ago, something like that.
I think so. It was, because I was still in Chicago. And I left in 2011. So probably 13 years.
Yeah,
something like that.
Roughly. Yeah, I think 13 years. About
Lion House, exactly. Serving hands.
I think I was still doing guard work when he was in town. I'm pretty sure.
A
long time ago.
Yeah.
Eric was doing guard work back then. That's actually like he and I were chatting right before this. He's like, I was curious about this and this.
Well, just
hey, Dark.
None of it. The whole thing sounds like a clusterfuck of safety procedures not followed, which is how anyone gets injured. We all know that.
Right.
But I went on set, and did you answer any of the questions earlier, Drew, that you and I talked about briefly?
I can't remember what exactly we talked about.
Well, I'll ask them if we do, then tell me shut the fuck up. So, usually when you are shooting a scene, have it be when I was working on a couple of movies been on, but as a guard, when you're teaching real training with like live round and all the stuff you do, a lot of those procedures are obviously followed as well on set just to make sure you're safe. And if they're saying the gun was cold and someone handed it off to him and he's aiming it at the camera, usually those aren't loaded with anything. How was this not tested before? Like, at the very least, you would think the person who handed it to him would have checked. And it was a revolver, if I'm correct.
Exactly.
They would have spun.
It's that gun.
Clear. Yeah.
It's the exact same gun.
Oh, yeah. Classic. So made sure that it was clear that there was nothing in it to be fired.
Well,
and if they weren't shooting a scene where they were getting a flash or flare or something for that shot, aren't those guns usually just empty? Correct.
A lot of times, if we're doing a rehearsal like that,
or it's a dummy gun?
I use a blue gun.
Exactly. That's what we train for self-defense. Yep.
Exactly. If he's just practicing the move, now if he's having to practice and get the draw right,
because he's cross-drawing.
Yes, I would have basically said, look, just to make everybody feel better, I pull the center pin.
Make sure there's nothing in it.
Cylinder out. You have this. It doesn't matter because it still functions. The draw pressure is still the same minus the cylinder, but we all
lightweight difference, and that's it.
Without that piece in there, it's a boat.
No bullet, can't fire.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything. Yeah.
It's a boat.
It's a really good doorstop. But like,
so Eric, we did talk about this. So, and this put us into the conversation about like the AD is the one who handed off the gun. Like, when does that ever happen when you've been on set? And he was like,
that was gonna be my
never.
Next question. Who the fuck? The gun?
And
never.
Eric or Matt said he's like pretty sure like they weren't next to the cart. The AD came in, grabbed the gun, and handed it off because apparently they were doing some test fire training
on set with live rounds.
No. They were at a range.
At a range.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so the guns may not have been cleared at the range, put into storage, and when she got them on set,
that was going to be my next question. Yeah,
may have emptied, taken out of the case, laid it on her cart to start inspecting it, turned back to another cart to grab some tools or something, and he just stepped in and grabbed it and took it to the set. Which
So how long you been doing this for? You've been doing this for a fuck long time, right?
I grew up around guns. I started carrying a gun at 13 in a Wild West town here in Illinois called Donley's. Been around firearms all my life, but I started doing the weapons
'Cause you're
98.
Midwest, right?
Yes,
Primarily.
98. And my friend Al Perlman was the armorer who had a heart attack and was in the hospital.
Gotcha.
So
So
he couldn't make it to set, so I took over, but I'd already been working with him as his legs. He was getting older, he couldn't make it around set, so I would be going to the actor, getting done, bring it back, clear it, and
right.
everything else.
So
So
would you how often do you, because I don't know the procedure for every armor is the same or not. How
right.
often are you taking your actors to a range to actually go through firing and teaching them the safety protocols? Is that every time? Is that
No,
rare? Is there usually somebody else who does it and
very
then you
rare
get them on
because
set?
production does not want to spend the money. That's it.
Hey, bullets are expensive.
Well, yeah, it's
And
supposedly
range time is expensive.
exactly. But when we did the show Officer Down with Steven Dorff, in the film, he has to use a 1911 all the time and a pump 12 gauge.
Okay.
I called a local range that had an indoor range, and I asked him if I could have the same make and model shotgun, same make and model 1911, all the guns that we're going to use on that set, and I rented it from them. So they stayed at the range,
Yep.
were used at the range. He fired them all live, and then I brought in the blank version to that range, loaded with blanks. So he went live fire first, then he went to blank so that he understood how these guns will not react like the live guns. Recoil will be
Yeah.
minimal,
Recoil's different.
none.
Yeah. You have to
And,
act it.
and as long as he started out and realized the live gun, because when you carry a gun, even when you pick a gun up and you know there's live rounds in there, you automatically just sense more danger than you do with a
You
blank.
do. You do. And that's something when we're teaching self-defense and you're teaching people concealed carry and going through all the courses and making them go through the round count. You know the difference between, because when we teach the first, I would say 20 to 50 shots that I do with somebody, there's only one round in the gun, period.
Right.
So that when they fire, if they freak out and fire a second time, they're not
Exactly.
shooting numerous times in any semi-automatic. And same even with a hammer base, where you're pulling every time and cocking it
Right.
manually. You still are only putting one in to make sure everyone's safe. They put the gun flat down and you go through the procedures.
Right.
When someone is handing a gun, I was going to ask exactly what you kind of answered. When you go to a range, those are not the same fucking firearms. So there's
No.
already no reason for that to
Right.
be on set. You're
Right.
you're 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 giving a double, a double balance to make sure that no
Right.
one gets injured.
Now
How in the fuck did
I did
they miss
time.
something like that?
I don't know. I did it one time. I did have live rounds on a set, and the whole reason was it was filmed in a police range,
Okay.
and I was precision shooting items. So I
Sure.
had to shoot a coffee pot, a cookie jar, and a printer,
Hmm.
and it was for a PSA about gun violence. So when we did it with the blank gun, the kid fires at his kid that he's having an argument with, and that's supposed to represent that the bullet passes through him, hits a waitress carrying the coffee pot, hitting a printer, hitting a cookie jar while the mom's folding laundry.
Yep.
The
Yep.
gun violence is long spreading effects, not so much the bullet in reality, because it's a 9mm, which would have stopped the kid. But
Didn't go that far.
it was just the idea how the impact of gun violence goes through a community.
Hmm.
And I was on the range, so we had the coffee pot rigged with wire, and to make it fall in super slow motion and look like fluid, like coffee, I actually used dark Caro syrup with some
Yep.
coffee added to it, so that when I shot that with a 22,
Got the weight body.
and it just dumped right out. And we
Right.
did the cookie jar. We just packed it full of cookies, and when I hit that with a 308, oh, it exploded. And we hit the 308 on the printer. And
Yep.
when I was there filming, I had a set spot, and I'm filming downrange, and I made them dead man that camera and get the fuck out of the range.
Yeah.
Yep.
You usually do. Well, it's live fire.
Even though it's a proper backstop, which was a pile of rubber, the shredded rubber that they use, you could develop hot spots in there of lead that's collected, and you could sometimes get a ricochet off of that. And I want to know you get hurt by either ejecting brass out of my rifle, a gun failure, or a ricochet. And I just told them, get the hell out of here. I need to be the only one here.
If you do a lot of range time, you'll see rounds ricochet back off the concrete sometimes
Oh,
for that
hell yeah.
exact reason, because you get a pack of lead, or because targets are all in the same spot, and if you get a bunch of people who are in or semi-accurate hitting the
Right.
target and they're not cleaning that often or replacing it,
Which is
especially the ones that
expensive.
use the fucking wood backstops, those are the worst.
Right.
They'll
Oh,
bounce back, and
absolutely.
you'll get spark.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I do know that when they clean those rubber piles, that is hugely expensive because
100, yeah,
they're
it's
in there
a pain in
with
the ass.
vacuum cleaners pulling all that lead out. It's an atmospheric thing. They got to be at sea in the hazmat suits for breathing of all that lead.
Yep.
And that was the other thing. Also, we're shooting live on a range. I don't want the crew there because we are breathing lead. And
It's just a nature of the beast.
Right.
So Chief Randall Webb has a question. Is there any responsibility on the actor to clear the gun themselves, especially in this situation where there has been a lot of problems on set? Randall,
Everyone's
no.
responsible.
Well, yeah,
everyone's
but
still fucking responsible when you have
Yes.
a firearm.
Yes. And
the
that's
actor should be there. Well, actually,
absolutely.
Matt, I'll let you take this. Yeah.
So on that, an actor, I feel an actor never knows. And I'm not being mean. I just figure you don't know because it's not something you deal with every day.
Because they shot BB guns as a kid.
My armory room is right next to my bedroom. I can't eat, drink, sleep, or shit without a goddamn gun somewhere in my life. So even though I'm around that all the time, even I double check myself. And I told the actor that it's like, just because I have it every day doesn't mean I know it. I can still shit my pants. Always check your goddamn gun. And I show them in a way that they can do easily without teaching them long hours of how to do it. On a revolver, there's a gap right here. If there's a piece of if there's a brass casing in here, you can see it. If you look through there and you see daylight, that means that cylinder is empty. There's no brass in there. That's one quick good way to do it, although it's a very short way to do it and not the full inspection of it, make sure the cylinder is not blocked. But you can tell if there's a casing by looking through the side, and I show them that every time. If I load it for the scene, I say you have 6 rounds in there, and they can see the brass. Then I open it up and I walk through every single round and show them 6 rounds, and that's how I started off. But it is my job. The way I tell people, because they ask me how I work and why I work so well, it's after doing jousting for a living, I'm the squire.
I do that too.
Okay. This actor already has enough stuff on his mind to think about, just like a knight. I have to think about going down that way at 60 miles an hour and knock that fucker off a horse. Is my shield fixed? Is my leather armor? Is my armor straps okay? That's the squire's job. So I walk up to an actor and I treat him like my knight. You are loaded. You have 6 rounds. All in the chamber. Your hammer is down. You're ready and hot to go. And as soon as he's done, I clear the gun in front of him. I say, "You're now cold. Is it completely empty? Here's the gun back if you need it."
And you show them too while you're doing it.
Everything.
So they feel confident in carrying a firearm as well.
Exactly.
That's something that I wanted to talk about real quick. So, like, Matt, when we're getting, like, when we're set up for a shot, what's the last thing that happens before we call action?
As far as what do you mean?
Like your job.
My job is to make sure the distance, the position, the safety, and that he's confident with where we are and he's ready to go, and that gun is loaded to do what it needs to do or unloaded for what it needs to do.
But the tool's ready for its job.
Yeah, but then the next thing is,
on top of all of that, though,
is I tell them,
you give them the gun.
Yes.
Yeah.
I give it to them. I mean, I'll stand there. If I'm loaded, I stand there like this with that thing up above my head. Or if it's an automatic slide locked magazine halfway in, and I show them, I'm waiting for you to tell me you're ready. Okay, we're ready to go. Clip in, slide locked, whatever. Hand it to the gun. I tell them, gun is hot. You're ready to go. That's it. And then
you do that every fucking take.
Every fucking take.
And then when they call cut, what's the first thing that happens?
I run up and grab it from them, drop the mag. Always take the demand from the feed. Put the mag in my pocket in case there's more rounds. Clear the chamber, lock it back, show him he's empty, and I tell him I still have the magazine with me. I'll bring you a clear. And I normally have a cold one unloaded with me to put in.
And the situation we're talking about too, this was the least complex version. This was one person with a firearm. This wasn't even like a scenario where there are 20 people on set all with a firearm. When you have those larger situations, when you have like your large, storming Normandy, all that kind of stuff. Right. How many people do you have with you And what is
My
the
rule
process
is-
of checking that kind of stuff?
My rule is for every 5 guns that are working on that set, I have another armorer working with me. So every
Gotcha.
5 guns, I only have 5 guns to worry about. Now, yes, I have been on sets where I got to the scene and I realized we have 60 goddamn guns running at one time. I have a SWAT team coming in. I have these cops over here, I have the bad guys with their guns. And that was a pain in the ass, but luckily,
I mean, that's probably an hour setup just to do one shoot, one take.
Well,
60 people?
Well, I mean, it's an hour. It's an hour. Aside from dealing with guns, it's an hour to set that shit up.
No, I'm just talking straight your job. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but
everybody I had
lot.
working with me there, 3/4 of them were all stunt guys. So I told them, here's what you're going to do. This is what your gun does. I want you to stand there, drop the mag, push the mag button, drop the mag, pull the slide back.
Yeah, it's sign and sets.
And lock it open. And they all did that. And if they had a shotgun, you pumped it back and left the thing open, left the breech open. So I went down there and I gave them the new rounds, reloaded their guns, set it up. I put a new mag in, slapped the slide shut, and I just ran around the room doing that with everybody. And I ran back for us to do the second take. They're like, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. And I'm like, I have 2 speeds, slow and stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
because I can go to park real quick.
So I guess my follow-up, and obviously, Chief, obviously you're not pointing a finger at Baldwin. That's not the conversation today.
No.
There's only been 3 or 4 passings.
It's 3.
On set. 3. Okay, it's 3 in total.
With this one now is the 3rd.
Exactly, 3rd. So this is the 3rd.
Yes.
But they had misfires on that set earlier, correct? Is that
what I get?
That's the article. Yeah, the article that I heard there were, because that was part of the reason that the camera crew left, because not only the working conditions, but also like one of the stunt people, a gun went off in their hand. They were like, "What the hell?" Like that. And again, this is what I've heard. I saw this
hired because of a name. I missed the first half of this, but I know that name is nothing more than a hyphen name, and they got the job because of that. That's like saying I'm Steve Eric Frankhouse Jobs, and I got it because I'm hyphen Jobs, and that would be bullshit. Absolutely. That sounds like this, which sucks. Now, with that said, that means this movies and TV and anything that has an armor involved has been pretty fucking safe since guns have been on set.
Yes,
overall.
We were talking about that.
How often are misfires though? How often does that shit happen? Because that's not going to get recorded to public that often. Because nobody wants that, especially in social media time frame, to be public. Right. Is misfires common on set?
On my sets, no.
Nah, just in general. Obviously, we're talking to you because we know you're not a dumbass.
Right. Right.
Yeah. No.
I know that the armorers that I know, my friend Dre, who worked on 44 Minutes, he worked on We Were Soldiers, he worked on One Talkers, big gun movies.
Yeah, big gun movies.
Okay. Yep. Who works with Mike Papek, who is, again, big gun guy, because he's the one who supplied all the gigantic guns for Transformers and everything else, and I know him too. Mm-hmm. No, they never have a misfire because the gun doesn't get fired until it's seconds to minutes before it has to speak.
Yeah. And no one else touches it between you and the actor then.
No. I mean, I've had actors I have to yell at who they're just standing around and they're just like, they're just
like it's a prop, a toy gun.
You get that muscle memory in your head. You don't know when I load that thing, and all of a sudden you go back to muscle memory and bang, something goes off.
Shit, for years we didn't see people doing proper safety where the finger's not on the trigger in many TV shows. For years they just had it resting there, and that's as we know nowadays, isn't even part of proper procedure if you are training with a real firearm. Your finger is never on unless intent is ready.
And that was the thing. I used to argue that fact, and there was always some creative that goes, well, I think it looks better because they're supposed to. I don't give a shit what you think.
Yeah. I don't slap their eyes into the back of their head nowadays.
Yeah, as I tell people in my safety meetings, I said, look, I may say something that may bother you. I may cuss, but you're going to remember what I say when I'm done. I don't have time for your feels or your thoughts.
You don't mince words. You can't.
That thing that we're working with doesn't care either.
Yep.
And I'm trying to keep you from shooting your dick off. So please.
Yeah. I mean, well, some of these people, I think it'd be okay if they did, but
yes. And again, like Andrew, you were saying, like, shouldn't Alec have checked it? Unfortunately, the thing about the fact about that is Alec Baldwin is a very vocal anti-gunner.
Yes, he is.
Therefore, how would he know about guns if you're an anti-gunner?
Yeah, but you've been on sets with guns numerous times. That'd be
Right.
like saying Jensen Ackles doesn't know how a gun functions, but he did what, Supernatural for 14 seasons, and there was a
Right.
gun on every single episode of Supernatural.
Right. I mean, Keanu Reeves is a unicorn.
Well,
What I
he's a
mean by
unicorn
that-
in many ways.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. But that man not only learned gun safety,
Mhm.
he took up 3-gun, which is competitive shooting in a high stress, very high impact time zone work
Yep.
with live
Gunners.
ammo.
It's
There are
fucking
guys
crazy.
that have pulled. I mean, there's a YouTube video, a cop shooting himself in the leg. Guy carried the goddamn 40 with him every day, and in front of kids, wanted to work with big dick energy, pulled the gun out, and fucking shot himself in the leg.
Put his finger on the triggers he's pulling.
You got it.
And that's, I mean, so like I've done competitions for speed shooting, Western and modern. And
Sure.
then the same thing though, when you're dealing with him, he also did that for martial arts. He's like, "Ooh, I love this," and went balls
Yes.
deep. That is just his way. You don't
Yes.
get that with every actor. I'm definitely not saying that. I just know for myself, if I was in the position and people that I've trained in live fire,
Right.
you always want them to double check your work as well, because
Absolutely.
you want them to build the habit of safety. I would think an actor, and Drew, I would assume would be the same for you. You would say, "How do I check this myself as well?"
Right.
If you don't want to do that, that seems odd. And he has been in many movies with it. While I'm not blaming Baldwin, I think it would be odd to me, and obviously I can be wrong, if an actor didn't also want to know how to be safe.
Well, here's the other thing about that. And yes, the answer to that is yes. Because like anytime I'm handling a weapon, and it's
Gun
only been
or
a few
gun, doesn't
times,
matter.
yeah, that it hasn't been with Matt. I think it's actually only been once with a weapon that hasn't been with Matt. Like I've asked the either the prop person or the armor if they had one, because not everybody has an armor. Sometimes props are
Correct.
the only people that show up,
You're
depending
not
on the
using dummy
budget and who
rounds
they
with
could
those
get.
people,
Well,
are
but
you?
here's the problem: is there are a lot of prop guys that feel because they're prop guys can be an armorer. Yes, there are prop guys that have an FFL. All that means by having an FFL, Federal Firearms License,
Mhm.
is that we can send you a gun from this end of the country to where you are, and you can receive it. That is all an FFL denotes, is you are
Yeah.
qualified to catch it and possess it. Does
Yep.
not say you know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah, it
Like,
doesn't teach you safety courses or anything like
no,
that.
and in no way does it mean that you're
Exactly,
not
Webb.
enough to try and
Exactly.
brush your teeth with a weed eater that morning.
Right.
It just says
Well,
that
and
you are qualified by the government to possess. That's it.
Right.
so the answer to your question is, Eric, yes, I would learn how to clear it myself, but also I would be part of the process where everybody's like, all right, guns going hot, and because Matt taught me how to do it. It's like you call it out step by step so everybody's on the same page, and we're
Yep.
hot, we're clear, let's go.
It's no different than
This is
yelling
the-
take. It's just one more step to make sure everyone is
Yeah,
ready and
exactly.
safe
But
and good to
this
go.
is the problem, and this is what I remember. I think I remember reading this too. They weren't actually filming; like they were setting up a shot to come, and I
Yes.
think they were like they were just
He was
rehearsing.
practicing while
And-
they were setting up shot. Why was
Right,
it not a
but-
dummy gun?
Why
well,
would it not?
that's the problem. The AD gave it to him. He probably didn't know any better.
Right. Well, no.
So if
They
someone
said
says the
cold.
gun is cold, yeah, if the gun says it's cold, or if the person says it's cold, like I am in the habit of double checking, making sure. Like most of
You
my
can spin
time
a
on set,
revolver and fucking
period.
tell real fast if it is or not.
Well, yeah, but most of my time on set has been as a PA. We are lowest on the totem pole, first in, last out, aside from transfer.
Yep.
And I've said this many times. That being said, when an AD says, I've checked this gun, if someone else would like to check it, please come forward, I always do. And I
Yep.
get looks because why the fuck is a PA looking? And then like I'll lock the slide, check it, look for daylight, check the
Yep.
mag, put it back
Well, like
in,
my
slip,
friend
and
Dre
then
said.
okay, here.
My friend Dre, who's in California, who I mentioned already, his name is Dre Sepulveda, and he used to be the gun guy in charge of the whole hand prop room. And he was the man who worked our armory. He also did a lot of that armory. So he knows what he's doing. He's even said, I'll show crafty if they want to know. Yes. And the reason for that is more eyes on a situation is less culpability.
Yep.
Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. slow the whole roll on let's play with this gun to a nice slow boil and make it easy and zen as possible, and then we have no worries. Everybody knows.
You slow it down
Webb,
to when people start asking questions. I mean, you want to
Yes.
be at a pace where people are stopping their normal life process and going, "Wait, why the fuck is this taking so long?" Because I want you to pay attention to what we're doing in a multitask society right now. This is what we're doing. Because it may be the last thing you do. If I'm teaching you live fire, if you fuck up, that might be the only time you get to do it.
I mean, the worst situation I ever had on a set was, and it was during the time of doing that 60-man gun shot where I had 60 guys running around. And I had said, guys, we're going to load the guns, ears on. I want ears on people, ear protection in, because even in the loading process, I may have something happen in that gun and a misfire. Your ears are exposed. I don't want to damage your hearing.
Yeah, you can't control powder, man.
I will, yeah, exactly. I will say it then. Ears on, we're loading the guns. I'll run back. I'll look to the director and I'll say, all weapons are hot. Everybody's ready to go. Please put your ears on. And then we go, okay, rolling. And I will yell again, fire in the hole, ears on. And I've had what they call cut. Some guy starts yelling at me and goes, what the fuck? Thanks for the warning. It was the camera operator. I go, what's your problem? Well, I didn't have my ears in.
Said it 3 times now.
So every time, every take after that, I purposely walked up to him and stuffed my fingers in his ears. And if I can touch where spelling is at, that means you don't have your ears in. And I'll wet willy you to make sure. You shouldn't be a bad thing if you got ears in. You shouldn't feel that.
We used to do that shit too for live fire. We would wet willy your ass if you didn't have your fucking ears in, or if you didn't have muffs on. And you can't obviously have muffs on set all the time. It doesn't fit the scene every time.
I'd rather them have muffs a lot, and I always pass out muffs to anybody who needs to talk to somebody after a take.
If you're not on cam, sure, 100%.
Otherwise, I tell people, if you're offset and you hear his ears on and you don't have ear protection, you always got your damn built-ins. Start using them.
Yep. Now I can't remember. So I was a bodyguard on set for the Batmans that were filmed in Chicago.
Right.
Did you do armory for that? I don't think it was you.
No, that was Harry Lou.
Okay, I didn't think it was you because I was like, I remember playing cards with the armor at one point. And like, I don't think it was Matt. That was a long time ago now, but
Japanese descent. His name's Harry Lou, and he did he's Johnny Depp's armor. Wherever Johnny Depp goes, Harry's there. So he was back with us in Chicago when he did Public Enemies because Johnny Depp was there. You know,
gotcha.
was
I
there.
didn't think it was. I was curious because like I don't remember playing cards with you.
In our industry, as a stunt guy, you can move up to second unit director. You have a place to grow more outside of your realm. As an armor, that's it. The only thing you have going to create more of a job for yourself is to become the armorer for an actor. So Phil Reed is Russell Crowe's armor. Wherever Russell Crowe goes, Phil goes.
Because he feels safe with that person.
Yes. He was he taught him how to 3-10 to Yuma, how to draw properly and everything else.
Well,
Phil's a legend. Everybody, if you say Phil Reed, every actor's like, I'm in good hands. Because he's been at it for so long. He is the god of armors. So for her to have that screw, that's why you remember hyphenated name, not exactly.
Now was it from a previous marriage? Do we know how they got that?
No idea. I did talk to him afterwards.
So it's just a totally different Reed, not even fucking part of the family.
It's Reed. It is a daughter-in-law. Is what
man.
So not from the school of Phil, not from the family of Phil. His daughter, who grew up with him, knows the shit. You know.
Right? Yeah, I know that. I definitely know who that is. That just sucks now that this is attached to that man's legacy.
Yeah.
And I don't use that term haphazardly. I don't use the word legacy very often, but he is a deity in film. Like that man. And that name carries weight. And the fact that the stain is now on it because this person did not have proper training. I'm not gonna say they fucked up. I mean, they did. They already know that. They have to sleep with that every day.
I talked to Phil, and he's doing all right. He's in good spirits. And I said, well, I hope everything works out well for it. He goes, it'll all work out the way it has to work out in time.
Yeah, that's all you can say. You can't worry.
He's like, he's not upset with it because mistakes were made, and the right way will prevail. Yeah. Once we take care of this in a logical, professional.
Now, we won't see that name anymore.
I don't know.
Armor?
Yeah, I don't. Oh, that girl? No,
Yeah,
probably.
I didn't think so. Like you'd have to do a name change. It'd be like a nightclub that had a shooting. You may be the
Right.
same owners, but there better be a name change.
I mean, I
Like,
think the armorer that was on the set of Crow retired. It was
oh,
not his.
really?
It was not. He wasn't even there that day. But because his name's in the credits, and we all know there's a death on that, there's a body on that film.
Yeah, yeah,
He realized he'd never work again, and that's
yeah.
unfortunate.
So
Which
the
is
only other go
why
ahead.
I'm such an asshole, and I will be an asshole when it comes to safety or people stepping out of line or not thinking
Hmm.
about it, because this has been my dream since I was a kid, and I am not going to let anybody fuck up my career. Not
I'll
even
be damned
myself.
if I let you take it from me.
Right.
So my only last question I had, and I don't think I talked to Drew about this, but maybe you spoke about it before we started. When a film is starting and they are bringing and hiring everyone on, and they bring the armorer on, and they
Right.
decide who they want it to be, have it be because an actor brings one or whatever it may be.
Right.
Is there a day or a few days or a course when there are going to be firearms on set where everyone who's in front of a camera is trained?
No.
Or is it one of those where you hope they've had it before and you know you're giving them a safe firearm and that's it? Like, because I know time and money is always part of film. Those
That's
two things are literally the same thing in film.
It all depends on if production is willing to pay for it. That
So
exactly.
if
that's what it
someone
comes
says
down
I
to.
have no firearm training, do they get a little more time with them? Do you say, hey, here's how this works?
I personally will walk. That's why I say if I ever have a camera, a DP, a camera operator, a camera assist, focus puller, I don't care who they are, come over and say, "Hey, I'm a little nervous. Come here. I'll show you exactly everything. I
Yep.
will give you the history of firearms
Because
from
the
the
20 to 30 minutes you take is the difference of someone making it the next day.
yes."
Like,
Mm.
I was on the set of Empire, and she wasn't even involved in the shooting. I can't remember the actress's name. She was the large girl who did Precious.
mhm.
Was also on Empire, and she just had to be in the scene in the background talking and react. So the gun's not even pointed in her direction, and the guys were 4 feet apart, and one guy has to shoot hit the other guy in the knee. So I used what we call a New York load, which is normally in our industry called a solid plug load. So the restrictor in the gun is solid; it doesn't even allow
Mhm.
anything but the barrel. We use it as a New York load. We drill a very tiny little hole in it. It still allows the gun to function, but gives us the smallest amount of muzzle flash. The safe distance on those is 3 feet.
Yep.
And he was aiming down, which is fine. I would never let anybody aim above the chest ever on any load, even a solid plug. And he was aiming at his knee. Now she's standing off to the side, and I understood what her concerns were. Like, the hot brass may come your way. Be aware of it, and I'm going to make sure I move. And I told the AD, I said I may move her when I see where his position is, and I know where the angle of trajectory will be from the ejection. I
Yeah.
don't want her to catch that in her cleavage.
Yep.
That's going to suck.
Yeah,
And I don't
the set
want
we were on, they had Lexan in between them and the brass ejections to make sure that other
right,
people weren't getting hit.
right. So what I did was
And you can't always do that, obviously.
I took her to the back room and I showed her what the gun was, showed her the
Hmm.
plug and the size, showed her the round, and I said, "You want to fire off a couple rounds?" And she's like, "Yeah." Can I? And I go, "Yeah, you're going to be in that area. Let's do everything we can to quell any question and nervousness and all of it. Let's just have fun and be zen and
Yeah.
be cool." And she fired like 3 rounds. She goes, "That was so cool. Can I do it again?" Like, absolutely. If you feel good about it, you're happy. But then she was able to fire the gun and see how far that hot brass went. And I had her pick it up off the floor immediately. I said, "Be careful, but I want you to pick it up and see how hot that brass is." When she picked it
Hmm.
up, she said, "Oh, I can see what you were." I said, "Yeah, you'll get
Yeah.
branded with
It'll
something."
sting. You'll get branded a little bit.
Yeah,
And I think like the first time I took my significant other shooting, because she'd never been shooting in her life. Her dad was in the military, but it wasn't something they didn't have a gun in the house.
right.
The first time they fire, there is a moment where they realize, oh shit, this is
Yeah,
a real thing. And
Hmm.
it puts some of the weight on the person using the gun,
yes,
which I prefer when using a firearm, that they realize the gravity of it.
right,
And that's using a live round. And even when we're just practicing, there's still something about having one in your hand that it's not the same as those toy guns you had as a kid. Like they
no,
get it.
right,
Usually. When they don't, that's when my brain goes, I don't think I should be training this person. When
right,
there's not that moment where it clicks for them, you really have to question what you're
right.
doing. If they said I've never fired a firearm before, And
Right.
I was wondering if you guys handled that on set before, because everything we just saw was just negligence of process.
Yeah. I've been on set where I've had an actor and he's just always talking all the time with a goddamn gun.
Oh my god.
In the damn thing, you'll get it on the moment and only for that moment.
Yeah. Sorry. You don't get toy privileges today.
No. And I've had other actors that after they shoot it, they're like they're handling a live venomous snake in their hand. I'm like, relax, you're okay. You know, it's fine. And I don't want to
That's almost worse sometimes.
Yes, I don't want them to have that fear because in fear, you can make a mistake inadvertently by trying to be safe. And I just try to tell them, look, relax. We're here together. It's fine. And I do. The tone of voice comes down to where I'm trying to talk a person off a ledge who's about to jump. Because the cooler you are, again, I've grown up with horses. If you want to have an attitude, that horse is going to tell you who has the bigger one. And you just don't. You be calm. You be cool. Your energy's low. Everything's relaxed and chilled. And when you're handing a person a gun that they've never handled before, they're already anxious and nervous. And I try to do everything I can to bring that down. Save from doing aromatherapy with candles and soft music. I will put that in there if you need it. But
do you want just green M&Ms? I'll make that happen.
I remember when we were filming the Buffalo Soldier piece, Matt.
Right.
I remembered when I was on top of that wagon, because you would talk to the guys that were doing the reenactment stuff.
Right.
Yeah, the horse work. Because I want to say some of the horses they brought weren't part of their regular thing, and they were attached to the wagon. Yeah. And you were like, I want to do hang on. They're like, I want to do a couple of tests. They're like, oh, they'll be fine. It's like, yeah, but there's going to be actors on this wagon and 2 of the horses are attached to it. So I want to make sure that everything's going to be okay. And you did, like, you started at like 50 paces out and you fired and you kept walking closer and you fired just to get them used to the noise. Because Eric, I don't know if I ever showed you this, but like, it's literally like a Cowboys and Indians movie where like they're running around this covered wagon firing the whole time.
Right.
It's like, we want to make sure that the horses don't spook. And the horse guys were like, yeah, no, they should be fine. It's like, I'm just going to make sure. But I remember watching Matt, I remember watching you do it. And I was just like, I'm seeing the way right now. Like, this is the way this is done.
Extra precautions that are the difference between someone getting kicked or ran over.
Right.
And I hate to tell you this, I know horses are pretty. But if they decide that you're just an object, you're a fucking object.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been stomping in the ground plenty of times.
Flung off horses, ran over and plate. Like, that shit hurts. And can be life-ending if you're not fucking careful.
Oh, yeah.
The anxiety sofa doesn't need your anxiety, too.
It's true.
Right. I mean, I grew up around horses. That's what we had. So from 12 years old up to today, I could be around horses. I've been adjusting, whether we did 4-H, we did everything as a kid, high school rodeo. I just did a Western with Tim Blake Nelson called Old Henry, and they were telling me they're going to have horses on that. And I knew I didn't re-ride Smith, the Wrangler, but when I did talk to him, I said, I'm only going to be using quarter loads ever when we're near or on the horses. And he goes, well, why is that? My horses are gun broke. I said, yeah, but we get some stupid meat monkey on the back of that horse, and he puts it right between his ears and fires off. You're going to piss that boy off. Yeah. You know, we have horses there with feelings and a brain.
Yep.
They're also our actors. We got to keep them safe as well and keep them happy, because when they're unhappy, you're fucked.
And you can't talk to them.
No.
Especially if you're on one.
Right.
I mean, I've been on them and they freak out. I mean, just the lines and pin on the street on parades at medieval times, those horses would freak the fuck out thinking they're jumping across the Grand Canyon.
You worked at medieval times in Chicago?
Yes, I was the Blue Knight.
So did I.
Oh, shit.
My God. So many stories.
I got a lance through the jaw. The squire didn't cut the thing all the way through, or didn't do the break marks. Hit my shield, carried across, hit me in the jaw, took my helmet off, put a 9-inch piece of wood right into my jaw, and I've got the ball and chain to the back of the head. During one of the fights, the thing came around the side of the shield, and
we stopped using maces for a season because I got fucked up so bad from a mace.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've had my knuckles pinched between the handle and the shield because Lloyd was just beating the crap out of it. folded the shield right into my hand.
I learned a lot working there, though. I mean, it was the WWE of chivalry, but
absolutely.
I got fucked up on those days.
My friend Tim Martin is working there now. Is actually head night. But when he started,
nice.
I told him, I said, "You be careful. It's a meat grinder."
It is. It is a meat grinder. Did you have it? So you probably were there before me, but did you have it to where your jousters and your um, people doing groundwork were separate? We'd have the same armor, but we would swap out people.
No.
Oh, so we started doing that. So like when we do the horse drag, like when you get dragged back into the stable area, we'd swap people who come back out. Because if that person was injured, you didn't have enough time to check them. And for the first season we did it, they wouldn't. They would make you go back out, and you might have like twisted your ankle, fucked your shoulder up.
Oh yeah,
the shoulder blade is bleeding in the armor, and you know how comfortable that is.
Right.
Because that armor sucked, by the way. I mean, they did their best to keep it up, but that thing took a war of punishment. Broken rivets.
We had shiny pajamas. We didn't even have
shiny pajamas. Nothing was worse than a broken rivet someone missed and it was scratching your entire set.
Oh no, I know.
That shit was horrible. There's no leather under there the way it should have been. It was horrible. Right. But we would swap, and I didn't swap that day. And we did one where I got taken off the horse by a mace instead of getting taken off by a lance, and I was supposed to take the fall.
Right.
Well, it didn't go as planned. I got taken off by the fucking mace, and so we fought there. And I stood up and leaned in, and I was like, dude, that was bad. So let's make this quick.
Right. No, in fact, I did my fall on a horse, and they had the squire who was wetting the arena down before dragging the arena left the hose laying in one place too long, and my boots were being resold, so I had to use the loaner rubber boots that looked like riding boots. And when I came off the horse and I planted my foot into the sand, it stayed there. It stuck. I created suction.
That's an ankle breaking action.
No, my right foot stayed there. My left foot kept going, and I did my impression of Parishnikov. I pulled both tendons in my groin to each leg, and I laid there with my legs flat out like a fucking marionette, and I couldn't get up. My
crimped gauntlets, that was another really bad one. Crimped gauntlets hurt really bad because the gauntlets had that weird center tang on ours, and they would crimp and it would cross your fingers like this inside.
Oh shit!
And you would be trying to hold. Well, you can't close your fingers when like this, so you're holding it like this, and you're reaching in trying to fix it when you're on the fucking horse, trying to get your hand around. God, fuck, man.
No, we were at the very beginning. This was right after they first opened. All we had was a leather helmet, the shiny pajamas, and our surcoat.
They're still shiny pajamas. That hasn't changed.
So when me and the guy were doing the horse-to-horse fight, he went the wrong way, where you're supposed to do the crossover, twist, disarm over the head. He wanted to go this way, and I'm like, no, I pushed you back to be here for a cross swing. He fought with me. I'm like, no, go this way, go this way. And he goes, no, I go this way. As his sword goes through my leg. And now he's grabbing his sword and trying to yank it out. And I went, nah, and I punched him square in the throat. And I said, this bitch is mine. And I rode right out of the arena.
Yep.
And when I got back there, they went, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm bleeding all down the side of the saddle. The tip of the sword stuck between the saddle and the cinch ring. So I had to roll off. They had to take me to the hospital. They had to die grind it off and push it the rest of the way through.
Yep. I remember getting stitched up in the back room, and we had another show right after, and I was working a double, which they don't allow that shit anymore either.
Right.
And I got stitched up. It wasn't bad. It was just the back of my hand. I always get fucked up. Right. He's like, going back out? I'm like, well, fucking Phil's not coming in, so yeah, I'm going back out. So I went from black to green, and the green knight armor never fit me right. It pinched my shoulder blade every fucking time. I was so angry that entire shift. I took the next week off. I wasn't doing shit. So,
this, gang, for $15 an hour.
Yeah, right.
Go check out Medieval Times.
Free food on Sundays in the matinee.
Yeah, that's true. You got free food.
The WWE of chivalry. How is that not their catchphrase? The one-liners from this stream are nuts. Booger picker on the pew pew switch is still the clear winner.
I missed that one. That's awesome. But yeah, so yeah, you learn a lot doing that shit. And but the only thing I had last was been doing this for so long. If you could help these sets be better at what they do, is there anything you'd like from the the head of the production all the way down? Is there anything you would like to implement that isn't currently implemented in the movie industry on your end of the job?
Me and my buddy Dre, again, we were talking for a long time after this happened.
I keep wanting to say Dr. Dre, and I know that's not the armorer
No,
because that would be really weird.
you can look him up on IMDb. It's Dre Sepulveda. Long
Mhm.
of big jobs, okay? And we
Mhm.
were talking, when you do special effects in California, it's a 3 card. 3 being the lowest, 1 being the master class. You can't even touch a squib until you're a 2 card. That's only to build the squib, not to push the
Okay.
button. The button man or the guy that has it, it's in his possession, is a 1 card. And they pretty much don't even issue those anymore because you have
Huh.
to start out as a 3 card and do so many years as a 3 card and have 5 guys write you to move you up. Meaning they have to sign your card once you get
Basically,
all
not an idiot.
and they have to be known. They just can't be any old signatures. They have to be a card above you. So a 2 card has to sign for a 3 card. A 1 card has to sign for a 2 card.
That's how the tile
So
union was out here for a long time.
what's that?
That's how the tile union was out here for a long time.
Yes.
You got signed
Yes.
up for same journeyman on up kind of bullshit. Yeah.
Right. There is no apprenticeship program in the armory at all. There are no schools for how to do it, just like there are no schools for special effects, because you have got to be taught by a person who knows what they're doing. The reason why is those who can't teach, those are not the 2 realms to do that in. You damn well better know everything about how to break down the most intricate of guns and clean it and know the workings of that gun before you teach somebody. And if you haven't been on set with somebody's life in front of that gun and made sure it's safe, you shouldn't be teaching. But
Exactly.
I feel that as an armor, there should be a 3 card implementation, whatever word salad. There should be that you start out as a wrangler, so you can get a gun and bring it and just transport it. That's it. Can't load it, clean it, do anything. Just get it, and come back.
Yeah.
Then you move to a loader position, which would be the 2 card. You are then loading the rounds into the 4. If I'm doing 7 or 8 takes and I'm going to use a magazine fed gun, I want the next 7 magazines loaded for the next take. You keep loading my magazines so that I don't have to. Okay. That also takes some logic and knowledge because the blanks are crimped brass. There is no projectile, no wadding. But on that crimped brass are color codings for what size lows.
Yep.
Black, white.
Quick verification. Yeah.
Yes. So you damn well better be putting a full load into a full load gun and not one that's restricted for a quarter load, or that gun's going to grenade in his hand. And I don't think he wants to be known as Lefty or Stumpy. So let's load it properly. So, and then you move up to armor, which means you know how to approach an actor with a gun safely. You know how to demonstrate when that gun is. You know how to operate that gun. You know how to clear the gun. You know how to communicate these steps all along. That's the master class. Yeah. So we don't know who to talk to. We don't know how to do it. And also,
you have to do it yourself. I think all the armorers have to get together and literally make
that's exactly what we said. Yeah, because the other problem also is IA doesn't give us a designation. When they say armor, oh, you're a prop guy. I'm not fucking dealing.
What is IA for those who don't know?
IATSE, International Alliance of Television, Theater and Stage Technicians.
That's why you call it that, because that is
the working
law.
Exactly. And so when you talk to IATSE about this, they go, oh, you're a prop master. I'm not dealing with watches and baby carriages and newspapers. No, I'm dealing with guns. Yeah, I can give you a prop phone. You can't call and get a pizza, but I can give you a goddamn gun and you can shoot your dick off with it. Yeah. So in reality, this isn't a prop. It still works just the same way it was manufactured.
It's only a prop because I decided nothing's in it.
Right. No. The ammo, in a way, the ammo is a prop. It's a crimped piece of brass with a primer. It is not made like you'd use to kill somebody. Yeah, you can shoot all day long at a guy with a blank, and he's eventually going to realize you ain't hitting shit, or you're shooting blanks and he's going to kill you. But the ammo that's in these guns will not hurt you, except if you were inside the safe minimum.
If you're in the fire zone, yeah.
You got it. So otherwise, these guns are not props.
So, I mean, also, how often, and I guess this would be a follow-up for that, if you want this 3-card kind of feel, or basically the apprentice on up to, journeyman master kind of thing, which I I agree. I think in crafts in general, I think that is important because in almost every craft, there is physical and mental safety procedures
Yes.
needed for them. From being an armorer to acting, even the decompression that's involved. There's a lot of stuff that is involved in that isn't taught unless someone above you has kind of been through it, and that's how
Right.
you train on a job. But
Right.
it's more important in these situations. So for example, we had a guy who bought a Ruger Mark. I don't know if you had a field strip one of those. If it's your first time field stripping a gun or cleaning it, that is a fucking annoying ass gun to clean. It's
I'd
horrible.
rather take apart
I'd
a
rather
mouse
fucking pick
program.
my toenails with a pocket knife than a
Yes.
doll with rust on it than have to do that fucking gun. I hate
Oh
that
yeah.
gun. It's horrible.
It's so much easier to field strip an 1895 Mauser broom handle, which is Han Solo's gun.
Yeah.
You want to talk about clockwork? Those
Yeah,
guns. That's why back in the day, the guys who made guns were guys who made clocks, because
Yep.
these are essentially little machines
Yep.
that action creates 5 other pieces to move to make this do that.
Yep.
So it's all clockwork. It's
And you had to
intricate.
teach those people that though. So like in speaking of clockwork, there's a friend of mine in town here who is training as I can't remember the proper term, but doing all the time stuff necessary. He had to go to fucking Sweden to
Yeah.
teach to do the Rolex classes and shit. It's
Yes.
insanity what they make a clock worker go through. And you're
Right.
telling me someone who shoots something doesn't do that.
Right.
Our family friend is a jeweler, and they were telling a story like we drilled a hole in a human hair and threaded it and sent it to our friends at Switzerland. They sent it back. The hole was threaded.
Yeah.
It's like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's insane. And he said
It's
like
absolutely
he said it was
insane.
he says the most difficult course of anything he's ever done in his life. And his wife said, and I quote, "I would rather have another kid
Right.
than do your course." And and it's insane because of what you have to do. But the fact that there isn't something for armory in film
No.
is nuts to me.
And also at the same time, it's like you were talking about the mentality of people. If we were to implement this course of the 3 card, I'd put myself to start out as a 3 card again. I'd put myself at the bottom because
Yeah,
even though I
course
know
works.
so much, you never stop learning.
No,
You never
you don't.
not
You don't.
you could always relearn everything again, refresh.
Someone who's willing to learn is the best person to be doing that stuff. If someone
Yeah.
thinks they know it all, that is the last person you want teaching.
And I mean, there's outside of Fell or anybody else, but where does the person come in and walks up to me and says, "You're doing good"? I haven't met him yet. You know, I'm hoping I'm doing well every day. Like I will say that what she said about being nervous about loading the ammo on that set, I give her credentials and kudos for that, because every day I'm on a set working guns and I'm putting the rounds in that magazine or I'm making it hot. Yeah, I'm fucking nervous too. I'm
Yep.
hoping this guy isn't just going to suddenly wig off and just start popping randomly.
Well,
Or
you
that
said most of your rounds come from one manufacturer, correct? It's like one
those
group that
ones,
makes them.
yep.
Now, is that something? Is that a standard in film that you must use this group, or is it because only one person does it? Is it a
Well,
licensing thing? Is it because you yourself don't want to be responsible for it? Where
well,
does that kind of fall in?
that is a whole different science completely, and a whole master class of how to make the proper blank for the right pressures, for the right size, out of the right powders. Because in reality, when you shoot a gun, you don't get a muzzle flash like you do in movies.
No,
And
you
that
don't.
reason why is because they add magnesium or other powders to change the
To
burn
give the fire. Yep.
temperature
Just
to
like
show.
dragon rounds, they're made to be fire.
Yes. But I mean, that's a whole realm. I don't even have time. I need another 50 years to learn.
I mean, I
Uh,
grew up with a grandfather who loaded ammo in the military
right,
and continued doing it until they said it was illegal to load your own bullets anymore and take it to the range.
right, right. But I mean, no, Joe Swanson has been around since the days of The Godfather when they shot that. He
Hmm.
made all the blanks for that. So that is a time-proven name who has proven himself over and over and over that his rounds are consistent. They are safe. They burn the same way. If I had a box of his stuff from 20 years ago to now, I wouldn't have any fear of shooting because I know it would be the same parameters
That's what I
outside of
wanted
the
to know.
fact outside of the fact of Atmospherically, powder does change. It mutates. It's going to change. May not run the same way. The primers may have started to degrade or whatever. That's just those things. But as far as if it was fresh off the line from 20 years ago to one that I could travel in time 45 years from now and fire them, they'll be exactly the same.
Shooting
Now,
rounds in the Midwest is not the same as shooting rounds in Colorado.
no, I had that problem in California. Sends a gun. They set it up in California. They say it's going to shoot a half load. We were on the set of Man Down. Jai Courtney was firing the gun into camera on a balcony, and they said, I kept telling the first AD, I want time to check the gun, meaning I wanted to take the ammo that was designated for this gun that they're telling me is a half load. I want to walk into a room by myself, and I want to test fire it. I want to make sure it functions. 100%. I don't want to be on camera, and this thing fucks up. Well, it did.
Nothing's worse than when you think it's a 3-foot zone, and it's really a 5.
Yes. But no, Jai Courtney fell into his position, fired the gun, and the fucking magazine blew out. And he's like, God damn, that hurt. And I go, I took the gun from him. And I said, you shot the quarter load gun or the half load gun, right? He goes, yeah. How is it the only way the magazine blew out was there was so much back pressure, it had to take the path of least resistance, and it blew that mag out.
It was blowing mag.
And it hurt his hand. I took that half load gun and I said, now, Jim, can I test the fucking thing?
Yeah.
I walked
down to quarters.
Walked back into that back room. I put a quarter load in there. Functioned perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
So in Louisiana, in that state, the humidity was so intense from California when they set it up that air pressure was so different that a quarter was a
Thanks for being here, Webb.
Yep, it happens. I mean, you know, if you're on Lake Erie in those muggy months, it's the same shit.
I mean, I had it happen in Chicago where I've set the gun up in my shop here in the Midwest, put a plug in, gun fired fine. I got to set. Everything was fine. We did the rehearsal. We did the firing rehearsal. Everything was fine. We were standing there on the streets. We watched this misty, cold wall just come right at us, drop 20 degrees, and that rifle couldn't fire a round.
Yep. My friend works in Europe, and when they get the really bad fogs, they run into that shit all the time.
Oh, yeah. That's the reason why modern guns have a cold, hot, or dirty setting. It's for that reason.
Yeah. God, if that existed in the 80s. Growing up firing guns. No, that's awesome to hear that you would like to see that implemented. I know Drew and I have talked for sure about things where we would love to see some order of operations change in the film industry on our long time sitting in a booth at a convention or somewhere else over the years.
Yeah.
This is such a sad moment. I hope we see Baldwin come back, because sometimes you don't mentally recover from this.
Right.
As somebody who worked as a guard for 13 years, watch guards never come back after they've had to fire on somebody. Unfortunate, you know. And everyone thinks that's the job of a guard. It's not. Your job is actually to dissuade anything else, to separate, dissolve the situation.
Right.
And they don't come back. So, and I've seen other guards that have unfortunately, not looked to suicide prevention because they've went through that stuff.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. You're in the service. You're trained. This is your job.
Mm-hmm.
And even those people can't come back from the first time. They're boots on the ground, and they have the first guy in that theater. That they can't get past that first day. Come on.
And just imagine his mindset as somebody who is anti-gun in general.
Right.
I mean, this is crushing.
Oh shit! So that's another thing about New Mexico. They're a they're a carry state. Like, you can open carry. And I was talking to a couple AD friends of mine, and they were telling me about shooting out there before. Like, so one of the big rules, at least that I've learned from you, Matt, is you never have live ammo on set.
Fuck no.
You do not do that. Well, here's the problem. Like, transpo out there, almost all of them carry a gun. So like, there's live ammo on set all the time. Like, just talking about how that bullet got into that gun. I mean, it could have been the range thing, but apparently the investigation said, like, they finally released that they did find lead inside the wound. So it was
in the
obviously a
gentleman's
bullet.
shoulder, yep.
And like, I'm sorry, and I knew it was a bullet just from the conversations, Matt, you and I have had throughout the years. Like, I knew it was a bullet before that was released because it went through someone and into another person.
Right.
If that had been wadding or something, normally that stuff it
would hurt.
Incinerates.
It can inflect. You can hit you in bed, but that's right where it's stopping.
Yeah,
it's like a frozen paintball. The shit's gonna fucking hurt. Like,
it's gonna hurt, but it's gonna stop. But like, this went through her and into the director, so like it had to have been a bullet. Like, we don't even know
how far apart they were either. Like that.
No, and because it's a 45 long Colt, which is a very slow round, really.
Yep.
45 long Colt should have stopped on her. She had to be hit soft tissue,
no bone,
something that would have killed her so quickly. Which in all the soft tissue points, there's not a lot that will kill you right now.
Right.
That will pass right through. So I don't know where.
She didn't die on site. She was DOA when she got to the hospital, I think.
Correct. She died on transport.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
Which means
and he was in critical condition, or is still, I think.
Tissue, but with a fast bleed out speed. So I don't know where there's an artery that would do that outside of the necks.
Outside the neck, yeah.
Something that would have hit her, passed through, and been able to hit and penetrate him and injure him. They had to have been. He had to be within 10 feet of those two, and they had to be within 2 feet of each other.
I was just going to say, you're talking 20-foot rule for this.
Yeah, and then this is the other point. Like, this is the only thing that I have to say about the situation, including Alec Baldwin, is you're never supposed to be on point, like in line with the actor. You're always supposed to be offline, whether the gun's loaded or not. Like, you don't point at another human being.
I mean,
I don't know for cameras though. How does that work for camera? Because sometimes you have the draw towards camera where it's on point for camera.
Right. Yeah, you don't put a person on that camera then.
I was going to say, no one arming the camera. Is no one on it? No, manning it.
That's the dead man the camera. So you start the camera and get the fuck out of there. Now we aim at it. But even I don't want to like damage glass, because I don't care if you got a filter. I don't care if you got
lenses are fucking expensive.
Okay, there.
Red lines and shit. Yeah.
Why is it? And speaking of that, why is it nobody can walk up to camera cart and put your hands on anything there? They will beat your ass.
Oh, you will be in trouble.
Yes, but everybody wants to come over and finger fuck the hell out of my goddamn guns when they're on the cart. Why?
Yup.
Nobody has ever died of a camera. In California, during that 44 minutes, nobody used a fucking Kodak. So cameras aren't dangerous.
So, because it's the cost. So it's odd to me than hearing that is definitely what I thought is what it is. That she was more than likely setting up stuff is the only thing that makes sense. Right. And she just happened to be in the line of fire, passing the threat line.
Right.
And he was practice drawing the gun he was going to use for the scene coming up.
Right.
There are so many mistakes there where hands should have been slapped.
I mean, the DP, when you look at a camera, where the DP is actually standing is actually just off the camera. I mean, you're aiming for the DP.
Off left, off right, depending. Yep.
And I've had operators go, no, I'm fine. I'll just put glasses there for any pad. No, you're going to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah. You wouldn't be doing it if it was an explosive, would you? No, you would not be at that fucking camera. Well, guess what? It's a traveling explosive.
No, that's not true. People are idiots. They'll do it in front of explosives too. Go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
I set up this incredibly huge explosion one time, and I said, I want nobody any closer than 20 feet from this explosion. And the guy on the camera walks up, puts his tripod down, 12 feet from the explosion. He goes, can I be here? And I went, yeah, once. I said, do you see where I'm at? He goes, yeah, you're like 30 feet back there. I said, yeah. How about your rule from now on is you're always 10 feet behind me?
Yeah.
I'm going to be anywhere near.
It's so crazy. It's just so nuts. I mean,
I don't know why they're the ones claiming and crying about safety. Their fear. Can I be right next to the alligator? Yeah, sure. Once.
You won't be holding that camera again.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be holding you.
It's just so shitty to see this go that way.
People will always surprise you how stupid they are. Nessie, you are not wrong.
You know what? You're right. As soon as I think I'm at the bottom of the barrel, I realize it's connected to hell. So
Yes.
I think that the good part that may come out of this is seeing an unfortunate scenario like this and what you would like to implement. Now's your
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. I just don't know who to approach with this. Who would be the powers that
You'd have to get all of your armorers on the same fucking page saying, "Yo,
and even thus, we
want
still
this."
don't know who the powers to be would be to take this to. Not a producer, not a director. They essentially, it's got to be the Motion Picture Association.
Matt,
so.
you're what part of IATSE are you a part of?
What do you mean?
Like, what is your not your local number, but like is Armorers part of Props, or are they owned? Do they have their own local? What is that?
Oh, what
Well,
section?
let me tell you about this. So, I was going to implement a training card system here in Chicago. I wanted to get it sanctioned by SAG, IATSE, OSHA, and the insurance companies.
OSHA's not real. We all know that.
No, I know that.
I'm kidding.
But
It's one guy in a hard hat in his basement.
right. But again, they are the ones who supersede us getting bonded and writing off things. I wanted to have all their bugs saying that they knew what my teaching curriculum would be. I wanted to walk actors. I wanted to walk stunt people, extras, especially extras, because sometimes they're cast and then they got to have a gun.
They're from a newspaper, man.
Yeah. And all the way down to producers and writers come and see what we're doing here to understand all of it. So you don't write in, he grabs a revolver and he fires it at his head. We want to see a muzzle flash. Well, you can't because you're not inside his head because that's where the muzzle flash will be.
You know, you could, because you're on the armory side of it and you know all the other people, you could just start doing a film, like record a series and put it on YouTube or Skillshare or whatever to start, because you can use that as concept and proof of what you want to do.
Or just like when you get the high lift card for the safety you go through a classroom training. You're not even on a damn high lift, except at the very end of the class, they want to see how you are. Well, I'm afraid of heights. You're not letting me on a Condor. But I got my card because I needed it. And so I got it. But I would like to see where we could do that, where you go through a 2-day training. Because I feel that firearms should be more than 1 day. Should be more than an hour.
Because you want to see if they retain it, like a dog learning to sit and stay.
It takes the U.S. military 5 months to train your stupid ass how to march.
I had to do 500 hours to carry concealed on a plane as a bodyguard.
Yeah.
500.
There you go. I mean, even the military realizes we need a lot of time with these meatballs to make them realize what they're doing. So why would you, just for the movie says, why would you condense it down? No, this is not condensed. You're not watered down. This is not a.
Well, because it's pretend. It doesn't matter, right?
Right.
Now's the time to
dying
enforce
of fire.
that it's not.
Sure. So really, if that's the case, she really didn't die.
Yep.
She was.
And the safer everybody is in it, the more people that are, course, like you said, cross-checking one another.
Yeah.
It just makes the job, I don't want to say easier, but it definitely makes the job more comfortable for those who are uncomfortable in these scenarios. Like a Baldwin who's anti-gun, and now he's in the position he's in.
Right.
So,
right.
Oh my God. So I was on the set of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and it was the episode. Yeah, right. Well, it was the episode where they were back in time and Patton Oswalt was one of the guest stars. They pulled out a Tommy gun. They were like, okay, we're going to test fire this because I think both Greg Clark and Patton had to fire him.
Because he played the police officer on that show, right? Originally,
Patton's
character, like a fan.
Or no, he was a I don't know if he was a police officer or if he was like in with the mob. But anyway, like they went off to the side because we were shooting down at Port of LA. So we went off, or they went off to shoot to test. We're like, all right, fire in the hole, and like I think it was Patton that said like, I'm not really a fan of guns. It's like, it's okay. It's like, yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, I got to do it. And he went through like a whole magazine. I think it was him. It might have been Greg Clark, but one of them walked away with like, never felt more like a man in my entire life. And I want to say Greg Clark, like after we were done, he's like, I want to do that one more time. I just need to, fire the hole. And he went through another thing. It's just like, I got to fire a fucking Tommy gun. But I mean, it's like,
that's something a lot of people will never get to use.
Yeah, no,
No.
exactly. I remember the first time I went to a range, like on my own as an adult, because like I said, like I think I fired I can't remember what the rifle was, but we were at your house, Matt. It was when we were getting ready to do something and you were like, "Hey, you want to test fire this?" I was like, "Sure." And I was nervous and like
You
it
should be.
was yeah, and it was only after coming out here, a buddy of mine who's part of IATSE, but he's part of my airsoft team. He's like, "We're going to go shoot real steel and just work on like
Right.
gun stuff." And I was like, "Can I come?" He's like, "Yeah, in fact, if you have anybody you want to bring, like bring them, just pay for like you'll have to pay for the ammunition. Just go buy some
Range
and
time
have it."
ammo.
Right.
And the range time. I was like, "Cool." And like we went over like how to properly use. My girlfriend at the time, she came with us because she was like, "I feel really nervous around guns." And I was like, "Well, come with." And she was like, "I still don't like them, but I feel much more comfortable having been shown how to do this stuff." And it's an anxiety thing, I think, because I'm like, I'm not a huge pro gun person. Like I never really have been. Like I grew up with them. My father was um he did competitive shooting at Camp Perry
Oh wow.
when I was
Camp
growing up. Like
Perry, all right.
he had some rifles that were gorgeous, like single stock, like they looked like Dragonovs almost, but like the sights and everything they had for them, like they were competition rifles.
Right.
So we had
Very
two of
nice.
those. I had a 22 growing up,
Adult
and
BB
I
gun.
had my yeah, and I had my brother's. He had a over and under 410 22 just for like ground hunting. Um, but that was like the extent of it. But like being able to shoot
Hey,
like
zombie.
an AR and a pistol. I think I shot a Glock and yeah, no. And then there was my buddy of mine they have a tactical lever action. I think Winchester makes it, which
Okay.
is dumb, but like it is the smoothest fire of a weapon I've ever had. Like
Right.
just boom, like it hardly moved at all. Like
Right.
my
Lever actions
grouping was so
they're very
small with
enjoyable
that.
to fire. I
Yeah,
enjoy them.
I
What is
love
that
lever
30,
actions.
30 that moves? 30 moves, 38 and 45 are nothing.
Yeah. Hey, zombie. I'm a
I
lot of late, but I'm
large
here.
caliber is not enjoyable to fire more than for a little while. It never has
No.
been. I don't enjoy
Right.
it.
That's I like
And nothing's better than going like steel shooting with a 22. It is
right.
so much fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
Although 22 bullets for a long time rounds were a bitch to find.
yes.
Um, and I think that I
They
think
also
that you know
travel
well
far.
everyone should if given the chance under proper training have a chance to fire.
Right.
Because even if you never want to do it again, you at least know why it is dangerous, what is going on, and the proper amount of nervousness around a firearm should be there. Because everyone who has a firearm should always have that question in their brain: Is it live? Am I okay? Is the safety on? Like, and if you don't go through the training, you don't even know what any of that shit means.
Right.
Hmm.
Right.
And I
Yeah,
mean,
fucking
I've used I think this is the third time I've used this analogy, but like it's like working with power tools. The moment you don't respect it, you're gonna get cut. It's
no. There's still
it's
people
the
who shouldn't use
same.
power tools.
Well, I mean, it's the same nervousness as like going on a chop saw
Table
and just
saw.
cutting stuff
Yep.
repetitively. Or table
Right.
saw is a perfect example. My
Oh,
dad, Jesus, I was in second grade, and I know this because I tripped and I went into the rim of a desk and had to get 2 stitches in the rim of my nose. My dad, who has been a carpenter pretty much all his life, like he started working when he was 16.
yep.
Right.
He got he wasn't paying attention. He got pulled through a table saw and he had 55 stitches around his middle finger. And we got him taken out on the same day. And I went first, or no, he went first. And like the doctor was like a med tech and he clipped and pulled and he was like, "Oh." It's like, "Did that hurt?" It's like, "Doc, my son has 2 of these in his face. You think I'm going to tell him if it hurts? Keep going, will you? It's great. It's fine." But I mean,
Nothing's worse than a thread through your fingernail. That is the worst feeling
oh my
ever.
God.
When they do the button on your finger for like tendon stuff and they pull it through, that is the worst feeling ever. But
On your,
regardless of all of it, yeah, I'm
on
glad you got to.
on your note on
Yeah.
firearms, I realized when I went to Tractor Supply here near my house, I was walking out the store to go to the cashier, and I see the wall of chainsaws. I don't know
Mhm.
if you know this now, but on the new gas powered chainsaws, they are all sold with a warning label on the blade.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not like the little picture guy with it between his legs, and he's starting it. And I'm like,
No.
you mean you have to warn people not to start a chainsaw between your
their legs?
I tell
It's
people,
this.
people are stupid. That's why Preparation H has been around for 80 years.
Do not use orally.
Do not use orally, which means somebody thought butt medicine would tasted great.
Yes. Deodorant says it too, like that kind of shit. There's that idiot. Tide Pods. We had a lot of those idiots for a long time.
Again, like I said,
don't eat the big white mint.
Stop protecting the stupid.
Yeah.
No, you can do that once.
I assume you're the
nice
lowest
zombie
common denominator until you prove to me that you're not.
Right.
Yes, I grew up in a gun-friendly household. Was taught gun safety from the beginning, and my dad put me on a rifle team when I was 12 until I graduated. Yeah,
4-H, baby. You learn to shoot guns in 4-H. At least I did.
Yeah. I learned in the Boy Scouts when they could still do that before they were.
And I'm definitely not saying everyone should own a gun. That is definitely not what I'm trying to project today. It's more that if on a
it was 4-H exactly
scenario with blanks that shouldn't hurt people and everything under the sun,
right?
Proper procedures weren't followed and bad shit happened. And I agree, there should be some form of testing and training. I think 2 days for actors to be able to do that, or for people to train on a set. If they already have theirs, there should be a reminder course, because maybe you've been doing dramas for the last fucking 10 years and you haven't held a firearm.
Right.
You've just been doing Harry Met Sally's for the last 10 years.
I did
Good for you. You're probably rich.
I did the show Betrayal with James Cromwell. And he had to take a gun and shoot a guy point blank. And later on in that episode, he had to pull the gun out of his desk and shoot himself in the head to end the series.
Yep.
And he told me the first time we were shooting in the forge down there on Roosevelt that's by Studio City. We're filming in there, and he has to shoot at a guy point blank. And I showed him, I said, well, Abe, he's here, you're here. So you're shooting past him. It's a very low blank, and I had him fire it to see what he was talking about. I had the actor there. I said 3 foot distance. You're 6 feet from each other, so you're more than fine. But your
camera makes up the difference.
And we just played the angle.
Mm-hmm.
He looked at me. He goes, "Look, man." He goes, "Do I look like the kind of guy that's done Die Hard?" I went, "No." He goes, "I did a movie with a pig." Okay, that tells you how much experience I have.
But he's honest though. Like that is the part that's missing. There's this vibrato that everybody thinks they have to have, and that's what you don't want.
Right. I tell people guns and ammo, or guns and blanks and stuff. And special effects has no room for ego.
None.
No room for anxiety, and it has no room for big dick energy.
Zero.
None.
Can't.
What was the? God, Matt? What was the thing you and I shot together? It was right by the Costco. It was in that like small project area next to the Costco. You and Aaron were driving because that one dude was like, "Yeah, no, I can drive." And then like you and Aaron hopped in the wheels and you scared the shit out of him. Like you came in with the Suburbans and.
Oh, that was Devil's Dominoes.
No, it wasn't Devil's Dominoes. It was the short film about like the Patriot Act going like off the wall.
Right. Yes.
I can't remember the name of it.
But Land of the Free.
Yeah, that's it. Land of the Free. I always think about that dude who's like, yeah, no, I was in the military. I know what I'm doing. And like Aaron was showing him, like you guys were at the range going through testing or through training, and he was like trying to jam the slide on the M16 back. Like, what are you doing? And Aaron's like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, it's not going. It's like, yeah, because you have to hit the fucking release. Click.
Right.
Oh,
same idiots that
this is
their
different.
web of their thumb on the slide. That same fucking idiot.
Yeah. Well, this guy was. There's always some rule one. If you can't do it, don't put it on your fucking resume.
Right.
There are always people that are like that. It's like, well, I'll just learn it on the day. Like I'll fake it till I make it. It's like, no, you won't. Not with fucking guns and ammo. You won't. That's how people get.
Or any stunt or anything like that.
No. Nope.
You'll fake it and make it to where you're injured or someone else's.
Or like we've had guys when we try to teach them how to ride horses, or there's gonna be gunfire and stuff going on. We used to do all the Wild West shows. You know, we would get hired for like opening a supermarket. We're out there And some guys are coming, going, I'm going to ride this horse. We're like, okay. And he goes, you ever ridden before? No, I'm sure it's not that hard. And I go, okay.
Riding horses is fucking hard.
And I look
Unless
at
you
him,
have
I
done
go,
it for a while.
what's your name? He's, oh, Tony. No, your name's Dirt Dart.
Yeah.
You're going to be a fucking dirt dart.
It's true though. Man, riding horses. So you're doing two difficult things at the same time.
Right.
Two muscle memory things, high-end muscle memory things,
Yes.
with a lot of safety procedures at the same time. Like, don't fire between the horse's ears.
Right.
I can't imagine someone saying, I know how to ride a horse, even if they know how to fire and they've done it, but haven't ridden a horse. You know what, man? Your ass is gonna be on the ground. It's gonna hurt, and you're gonna break something, and then the whole entire set's gonna be fucking closed for a while your broken legs in a cast.
I mean, to this day, I don't think you were with me, Drew, when we did the History Channel thing. And we were on the beach at the dunes, and they brought a horse, and they wanted me to suddenly to ride it because they were like, "Oh, you jousted? You can ride this horse." I'm like,
"Oh God, you told me about this." No, I was not there. But keep going.
I'm like, I don't know this horse. I don't know their
relationship.
I got to read this horse. He's got a personality. And I get under her back, and they put me in costume, so I'm essentially like commandoing while I'm wearing this stupid Arabian robe.
No.
And I'm on her back, and I've just gotten over a prostate infection, so I'm now bouncing on her spine, banging everything possible to it. And she goes, "Oh, she's a carriage horse. She normally knows only how to plow rein," which means this one turns the horse this way. This one turns the horse this way. Knows nothing about neck reining.
So you got a toboggan with two pedal slide handles to go down a hill. That's what you got right now. Can you go backwards? Absolutely not.
Here, I'm like, look, I can do this with jousting. That's not a problem. But I'm on the dunes, and they go, "Well, can you make this horse gallop?" And she goes, "Well, she's only a carriage horse. She's never galloped." And the director goes, "I'm sure it'll be fine." Comes up and slaps her on the ass. She fucking takes off. I'm running right at Seb, the camera operator, and he's standing at a cement divider holding the dunes back so he can get a low angle look, which means that if this horse keeps going, I'm going to be airborne with this big hunk of meat.
Yeah, and
I'm halfway through my scene. I'm like, fuck that. There goes the spear, and I'm trying to turn this horse. I'm kicking her in your head to make her turn left. I'm like, please stop. Fuck.
Jesus.
Like,
well, and the horses in medieval time trained.
Oh, yeah, they were.
My
horse could run all the games without me even touching the reins.
They were better than the humans.
I know that, especially when you're doing carousel with those Andalusians. And they are a stubborn son of a bitch. If you don't get along with them, you're screwed. And that Andalusian will half the time do all that carousel. And that's high school riding. I mean, that's like the most precise of dressage total. All you have to be is a puppet on their back, and they'll do it all by themselves. But if they don't like you, they're going to throw you.
People are lemmings.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Just falling off the cliff and getting themselves killed.
Flip.
It's just, it's such it's so frustrating. I hope you can get some form of system put in.
Nessie, thanks for being here. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Nessie, have a great day. Oh, Zombie. Oh, yeah, you are here still. Yeah,
even in competition, they give you a pre-ride so you can talk to the trainer, ride the horse, and get a feel for it, learn the cues and everything. Yeah, no, absolutely, Zombie. I remember when we were doing what the hell was the name of that Buffalo Soldiers thing?
You're really bad at names of the movies you've been on.
I know.
You need a black book that stays with you and you write your shit in it.
You know,
well, I've got clips from everything. Anyway, Forgotten West.
Yes.
That was the
titles of movies that are going to go to the dollar bin in Walmart in Guam.
Right.
Well, I mean, this was a short film, so it's not a. But like, I think it was like the third time that I had ridden, and we went out. And we were doing like just ride arounds, just getting used to the horses.
Right.
I can't remember what happened, but like yeah, let's get him up to a gallop. I'm like, okay. And my horse went off path, and I was just like, I am absolutely along for this ride because I have no other choice. And we hit like a 3-foot tall bush, and the horse jumped, and I was like, this is new. And I stayed on, and I was like, okay. Because the second time I had been on a horse was at stunt school, and they taught us enough just to learn how to fall off. And I was like, okay, I need to slowly bring it around. So I started pulling the reins to the right, and it slowly curved. I was like, I remember this now. And by the end of the day, I had the horse walking backwards. I was like, I remember this. This is cool. But like, you have to have a trained horse to be able to do that.
Oh, hell yeah.
And you also have to have the frame of mind to be able to do that.
Well, the first time you get on a horse,
scared the shit out of me.
People don't realize how high up you are.
Right. Oh, yeah, exactly.
They lose their
people
shit.
like, oh, they're animals. It's great. And then you're up there. It's like, this is taller than I like to fall from.
Yeah.
Hey, the tallest horse was this Arab that I was riding. I mean, he had to be 15, 16 hands, which to everybody else doesn't seem like a lot. Yeah, no. You're on a
ginormous
radio tower. You know.
Ginormous horse. I used to ride Clydesdales in a parade, and those things were big.
Yeah, you feel like you're riding an earth-moving equipment.
Yeah, it was for Budweiser. I used to ride it for Budweiser.
I just remember the time on Black Knight with Martin Lawrence, and this horse had already thrown 2 stunt guys, and they walk up to me, and they went, oh, Ken says you know how to ride a horse. Get on this horse. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, he's already thrown 2 stunt guys. I'm like, great. He goes, yeah, she's green. Today's her first day with a saddle on. Fuck!
Why the fuck is that horse on set?
On set?
I don't know.
Thank you.
I remember the whole day.
It must have been beautiful for the shots.
I guess so. Me and her got along. I treated her like a baby and talked to her, and we were getting along. And it started to downpour, so we head to the village. And there's a little cottage with like an overhang porch area, like it's like a little corral for animals, and that would be medieval or whatever. And
I'll be right back.
We go to get in there, and I go, I'm the first one in, so where the door is at, I'm all the way at the end of this little corral in there under this overhang, trying to stay out of the rain. 15 other guys pile in with horses, and the wrangler goes, she's doing pretty good for you. She'd never been ridden before. And I'm like, yeah, I got that. And all of a sudden, she started kind of getting a little antsy. I'm like, hey, whenever my mind getting wet a little bit, let me get the hell out of here, because when this grenade goes off, we all going. And I got outside, and I basically just stood in the rain. So I was like, the dumbest thing in the world was to put a green horse who never had a rider in the most claustrophobic position possible.
No, yeah, and they're naturally claustrophobic. Almost all horses are, until you get them used to it.
Yeah.
So you must have worked a lot of, I mean, being an armorer, you must have worked a lot of Westerns or when horses are involved.
No.
Is there a lot of training to an actor that has to happen to build, or is it usually stunt that is firing a firearm on a horse? Like, how do you handle that on set? Because like we said earlier, those are 2 skill sets.
Yes. Like with Rewrite Smith, he had a week and a half prior to meet with all the actors that were going to ride and pick the horse for the rider. So he put them on different horses and realized which horse got along with which actor. That was their horse. Sure. And then from there, they did a riding school and they got along with their horses. And then it was the actors firing, or it was all the stunt guys. It was majority stunt guys, 3 actors. And I walked over it with them and rewrite it too. And I basically said, all gunfire is to the side, either side, never forward.
Yeah.
And don't fire. If you turned around, don't turn around in the saddle. Stay facing where the horse is going and know where he's going. Get him turned back, but it's only to the sides. And they were like, oh, yeah, Rewrite told us about that. So, yeah, there was enough time on that one to do. But in all reality, even though I started out with Westerns as a kid at a live-action shoot place, I've only done, the past couple of years, I've only done a couple Westerns.
Well, they're way less frequent. I mean,
yeah,
you can almost name the amount of Westerns because of the social parameters and etiquette that comes with, you know, dealing with cowboys and Indians and just the terminology. Right. People don't want to film it anymore, unless you're Quentin Tarantino, because you didn't give a fuck about anybody.
Right. Whereas lately it seems more Westerns have come up. And I did that Old Henry, which was great. That was with Tim Blake Nelson and Trace Adkins. So we had a lot of fun on that. I think it was Trace Adkins. I'm not sure, but yeah, it was Trace Adkins.
Some person.
Right. Some famous country western singer. And that one was fun. That was so much fun. But every one that I've done prior to has been a shit show. It's the idea you're doing a period movie. I don't care if it's medieval, if it's Romans, if it's Western. Everything is period, meaning you can't find what they wore down to their underwear to this day, let alone firearms, let alone eating utensils, all that shit. That shit's going to cost money to find or make. And everybody who wants to do a Western wants to do it on the cheap. It's like, you can't.
The opposite.
It's exactly. It's got to be the most money poured in there because one, in a Western especially, you're relying on horses. There was one that was going on, and I wasn't able to work it. They called me and they won the guns from me. So I sent my partner to go armor it because I walked through with everything, and he's fine with that. They wanted him to also do props and do set work. And he said this thing was a shit show. The main actor didn't know how to be with guns. He'd misfire. He'd shoot him off when he wasn't supposed to. He goes, I eventually stopped giving him rounds. And I gave him a fake gun.
Well, it'd be like trying to film a Western during the time of Westerns and handing that motherfucker an iPhone. Like,
yes.
The skill isn't there anymore. Like,
No.
Wow, that'd be a great movie, by the way. A Cowboy with an
Also, what happened on that film, they killed a horse. They didn't kill an actor. They killed a horse.
Yeah.
They basically would not let the wrangler, who was some lady who nice, let some lady who brought
Schultz
the
for
horse
the wedding just showed up.
Oh, nice.
Take a break and give the horse water. So
yeah. That's a totally
water.
Different problem in the industry. That happens.
Yeah, they came in the next day. Horse is dead.
I'm just curious if they did it because I know that me training to joust and do sword work from the back of a horse was an extravaganza to learn how to do that properly, and then working at a Ren fair and learning it there was very special. Drew, you need to hit the rainbow puke button, by the way.
It happened again?
Yeah. And then it's the hex code that goes through. It's the H2.6 that you can change. Rainbow Puke usually fixes it when you're on a Mac. But yeah, I was just curious as to what caused, what process is used, because you're using two very, I don't want to say archaic, but old styles of life that we don't do anymore. I mean, fuck, I know a handful of people know how to ride a horse, and that's because I grew up in the Midwest.
Right.
It's just odd.
It should be, and normally it always is there are very few of them, just like there are very few armors in the United States. I pretty much know a majority of them. I could call them on the phone right now.
Right. Yep.
Like Dave Evans, Mike Papik, Drew, Dre Sepulveda are all the LA guys. Thel Reed, and there's my partners in New York with weapons specialists who I represent here in the Midwest. And I know everybody that's ever been an armorer or know of them by name, let alone just call them. So it's a really small group.
Gang, I'll be right back. I have to go move my car. I completely forgot about it.
Sure thing. And so, I mean, it is a small group of people. I don't think any DPs could mention all of the DPs in the industry.
Oh, fuck no. It's a much larger pool.
Right. Whereas we're specialized. Then when it comes down to wranglers, that's even smaller. You're talking guys that have herds of horses. We have teams of wranglers that are with them, guys that are on the set to just do nothing but bring horses from holding to guys that are there to catch horses, to guys that are just feeding horses, all that shit. So that's a really small group. I mean, I think I only know 4 of them. Reed Smith is one of them, Rex, I can't remember his last name, and Randy that were on Black Knight, and then Carl Luthen, who used to be a Civil War actor, and you're talking – he can come in with 35 horses, riders, with all the gear, with all the saddles, everything else. That's a
different lifestyle, man.
Yes. I mean, we had 30 horses at one time on our farm when I was growing up, and that's all day. All day.
It is your life.
Yes. I mean, we knew it that when we got up in the morning, first thing you went and did is feed the horses, come back in, eat breakfast, then get your shit and get to school. Come home, drop your books and bags, feed the horses, come and eat dinner, do your homework. And then on good weather, it was drop that, set your homework aside, eat dinner, come out. We have riding to do. So we were on the horses.
Yes.
4 to 5 hours.
You have to ride them. They need their exercise.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, when you got 30 horses, we had a patch of 27 acres that was wooded. It was me and my brother's job to run out there, grab the horse, and get them all back. And with my dad's roping horse, I used to go out there and just grab him by the withers, swing up on his back, bareback. And he's such a reining and cutting horse. He knew all the leads and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm riding him with no reins, no nothing, no bit, no saddle, running full blast while everybody else is following me down there to the feedlot to get fed and feed them and then grab them one at a time and ride them,
Yeah.
So, yeah, you spend a lot of time in the saddle and a lot of hours. And The guys out west was nothing compared to the guys out west that could sleep in a saddle.
I can't do that shit.
No,
I mean, as a bodyguard, I couldn't even sleep in a fucking chair half the time.
Exactly.
Did you? So when you go to set, are you bringing? Like, what do you transport everything in? Are you using like an RV? Do you have like a big ass thing so you can stay in it when you travel, or are you just truck loading and showing up?
Yeah, I actually loaded my van, which has got security cages in the back, and I carry. Most of the time, it's only 1 or 2 gun cases at a time. I've never really brought a fuck ton. Now, this last one I did for Ripple Effect, we had 70 weapons on the set.
That's a lot.
30 that were practical, 40 that were replica. And on the way to set, that right after the Alec Baldwin thing, I mean, like hours. It was like hours after it all happened. I'm driving down, and production wanted to have a Zoom meeting, and they opted out of shooting any blanks at all. So out of the 7,500 rounds of ammo that I had with me, we didn't shoot one. But when I got down there and I'm handing all the replicas out, and I walked to the set where it's a World War I battle scene, so they've got dug all over, looking like bomb craters. And my friend Seb is a steady cam. He's running backwards through all that stuff, trying not to fall in these pits. And I've got all these guys dressed as French and American charging at him, flagging everything they possibly can. I'm like, I'm kind of glad we're not shooting any rounds. That's way too fucking dangerous.
Yeah, it is a hectic.
Originally, the scene was going to be in a trench where they're lined up and they're shooting over the top. That's fine. They're not moving.
Yeah, they're not moving. They're all just staying there.
I would have put 5 extra rounds in their pocket and say, when you're done on the bolt action with 5 rounds, drop a new stripper clip and reload yourself. They'll want to see that, but you're standing in one place. Once that trench got taken out of the scene, and there was so much smoke out there going on, I couldn't see 5 feet in front of myself. I'm like, this would have been so fucking dangerous.
And ankle twisting, and you're running with replicas that I'm assuming had bayonets on them too. Let's not even talk about that bullshit.
They wanted bayonets, and I told them no.
Dude. Bayonets and reenactment are how people get injured. It's not the blanks, it's not that shit. It's the fucking bayonet when someone swings it. You clock somebody in the fucking eyeball.
Civil War reenacting, they banned us from using the ramrods when we would load.
Yeah.
We had to do the bite, pour, and tamp the butt on the ground to shoot. Because I was at the reenactment.
Those things are fucking swords, man.
No, that's what I was at the reenactment when this happened. We were coming down the hilltop. Commander's over here saying, let's go forward, as he gets pinned to a tree through his shoulder by a ramrod that got fired across the field.
Someone left in it?
Yes. So after that, they went, no more ramrods.
Jesus Christ.
Ever. You couldn't even have them on your body.
Well, Eric, I've told you the story about Fury, right? The tank movie.
Yes. No, you haven't. Which one?
I haven't heard the story. No.
So apparently, there's a scene in there where, like, it's a wide shot. So, like, one stunt guy is like, "All right, run out, get hit, take your fall." So you do, and then extras are walking through dressed as Nazis. And they're just bayoneting the dead bodies. No one told them it was going to be an actual person there. And like
so
every
they're really
other
bayoneting the bodies.
Yeah, because they're actual bayonets. They're just going through the cloth dummies. And everyone they hit, aside from this stunt man, they either hit in like the base of the neck or like the base of the spine.
Sure, yeah.
He got lucky. He got stabbed. Yeah, exactly. He got lucky. He got stabbed in a lung instead.
That's lucky?
I mean, he's not dead,
right?
But it is that it's that attention to detail that just doesn't happen sometimes, and it's.
I now use the analogy. It's like, don't trust anybody with anything like that to do on set, because fucking Dennis Quaid just destroyed the most expensive fucking guitar in history because nobody told him he had the real one. We have a smashed one. And he got so into his character, he grabbed that original, first ever made Gibson guitar and smashed it to a post. Okay, it's $50,000 for a guitar. What's the price of a human life?
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently a red line camera, because no one can touch those.
Right. Yes, so.
That's the limit. That is the upper limit. $5,000 replica, $10,000 replica, fine.
Right.
Camera, absolutely not.
So I like it when people go, "Oh, it'll be fine." I'm like, yeah, you know about that $50,000 guitar that got broke?
Oh,
How about
God.
we not do that? That was like this other show I just did. This one in a real well rod, which is a silenced pistol that was used in World War II by British Special Services. It is a silencer all the way through. There are 7 left in the world. There are 3 in the United States, and I had one of 3 on set. And we're going to do the fight. And the guy goes, "Well, you have to throw it." And I said, "So you use the replica?" "We like the look of the real one." "Do you like
Yes.
$30,000?
So that was gonna be my question. With that specifically, and Drew, I don't know if I've ever asked you about this for Matt, but where the fuck do you get all this rare shit?
Oh,
Um,
Auction?
no, well, a lot of what I have, like I'm partnered with Specialists, and they have an extensive array. I think we got 10,000 weapons in inventory in New York. That if I need like an exotic, like a 249, or I want a Dushka machine gun or something like that, I call them.
Yeah.
They send it to me. I have 300 guns in my inventory.
Right.
I'm a micro armory, and I only buy what I need, what I know is going to work. That's why I luckily just bought 5 or 6 more of these single actions, and I luckily happen to have a Western coming up, hoping to put these to work.
Yeah, it's like if you see a lot of Cold War stuff going up, you look for those time
Right.
frame pieces.
And a
That
lot
makes
of it's
sense.
luck. Like I
Yeah.
was on the
Yeah.
set. I gave Tim
Do
Blake
armorers
notes.
get hired because of what they own a lot of times because of their
Yes.
inventory?
Yeah, yeah. It's like, it helps armorers out that have a lot of their inventory to make some money for themselves too. But
Makes
90%
sense.
of the
Because
time,
they rent from you then, is that how that works?
yes, yes. They're renting the guns, but they're bringing me in. So I just
Hmm.
did this Scorsese film, and I supplied them with 60 guns on there. I got a couple that were De Niro's favorites that he used. So I still have the 1911 used by Angelina on Wanted.
Mhm.
Uh, minus
I remember you
minus
worked on that, yeah, that's right.
yeah, minus the
Curved
slide.
bullets today.
It was engraved in a certain fashion, and they wanted a gun to go on the Planet Hollywood tour. So I took that slide off of the real gun. I kept the lower. I then ordered in an 80% lower, slid that onto there. There's parts. Now you can put it in the restaurant. I'm supposed to get that back, but oh well. That was their intellectual property, and that was just on the part of the gun. The lower part of the gun is where the serial numbers are. That's the firearm. So by
Yep.
ATF rules,
Everything else is just
that has to
accoutrement.
stay with me. So it's a lot of times I like having the argument of people like, "Well, we're IATSE union. You got to." I'm like, "Yeah, you're only an authority that's so far. IATSE can't put me in prison for 50 years
Right.
where I may die of butt
You ain't
sex."
you
So
ain't
no,
get you ain't getting a serial number. That shit ain't happening. Sorry,
no.
buddy.
So I like to tell people it's like my license and what I have to do supersedes what you think you can do and
Mhm.
where you think your authority ends. It's like that.
Most
That's
of the movie industry is cover your own ass, man.
yeah, absolutely.
well, I mean, and that's the other part of it too. Like, and this goes back to like clearing your own weapons. Like, when it comes down to it, when you're on set, you are responsible for your own safety. Like doing
Yes,
stunts, that whole part about not doing things you're not comfortable with. You can be comfortable doing a stunt, but see the way they've got it set up and be like, this isn't safe.
absolutely,
Yeah.
It's
absolutely.
like, well, this is how we have to do it. Well, then I'm not doing it. Sorry. If you're
Right.
not willing to change this, like,
You're not
I'm
willing
not.
to stream out that airbag, or you're not willing to let me have my 6 guys around that pad that saved me.
Yep.
I'm not doing it.
I told you,
Yeah.
Drew, when I worked in Chicago as bodyguard, I would not drive and guard at the same time. You had to have a driver.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
Right,
cannot be perceptive and aware enough to drive in fucking Chicago in winter
right,
Fuck that anyway. But
in
yeah.
an armored BMW.
right.
By the way, armored BMWs, you think awesome. No, they slide.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
there's
heavy as
They're
fuck because
fucking
they're
big
armored.
ass toboggans. And I've never thought I'd get to use that twice in a show, but they are human bobsleds. And I won't drive, especially like limo. They want you to limo drive and guard. Fuck it, that's bullshit. That is only in the movies. That is not how that shit works.
right,
You
Yeah.
100% are a separate person on set, and they don't want to do that. I won't take the job. And just like when they're
Mm.
like, "Hey, we just want one guard. How long's it for?" "Oh, it's gonna be a week." No, I have to sleep, shit, and eat. Like you
right,
need a
Mm-hmm.
second guard. We're rotating, and we're rotating 12-hour shifts
right. And again, it's
with an overlap.
I mean, in your industry, I can understand that because, yeah, I'm not going to function 100%, guys. Come on, I know it's expensive. I know it's big budget, but we got to pay.
No, fuck
And
that.
the movie industry is like, well, can we get away with this guy over here who's been doing finger guns all day? No, we are not going to use Mr. Finger Guns.
No.
Now,
Figure
First
Gun
off,
Frank is
making
not
movies
allowed.
is expensive, period. If you can't afford to make the movie you want to make a different movie or get more money.
Well, as a freelancer, man, if you can't afford me, then you need somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I'm out of your budget. I'm out of your range. Then I'm out of the price. I'm not going to be there. Like that's just that's not how it's going to work. That's just. It's good. Also, by the way, it's awesome to hear you say no to people because that is not a common thing said in the industry. Because especially in the beginning, you can't say no because you need to make money. You can't say no because you want your name out there. The fact that you're willing to say no, fuck you, no.
Yep. Took me a long time to learn that lesson.
The only time
too bad that didn't happen on Rust.
Right. Absolutely. The only time I will not say no is if somebody calls me up and goes, "Hey, do you have this gun?" Yes, I do. Click. I got.
Would you like to rent this from me? Absolutely. Yeah. This becomes.
And I'm like immediately like, I got to go gun shopping, and I'm running out of the house going to buy the damn gun.
Yeah.
But outside of that, if they say, "Hey, can we put this in his face?" No. How about this? And I'll tell the director if he wants to argue with me. How about you go first? Show me.
Let's practice it with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's just it's a very odd. Again, happy it's only happened the 3 times, but fuck, man. Well, I'm wondering with all the other things in motion, and you said there's a strike going on right now too, Drew. Right is it for the stunt union? Correct?
No. IATSE was going to strike, but then they didn't end up doing it because the producers made a deal. But like everyone that I know is like,
not happy.
This is bullshit. So I don't know if they've actually voted on it yet or not. Oh, sorry, Matt, I didn't hear your answer. So what part of IATSE are you a part of? Are you part of like, is props?
They throw me in with props, and that's what I said is no, I'm not props. Me and Dre have talked about this. IATSE has got to give us a designation, meaning they have to not to make a slot. We have to be on the charters. We're not props. Props are not armorers. And there are a lot of armorers out there that have an FFL and claim they're an armorer. They may have taken the course at IATSE and they're working their guns to be on their license. That doesn't make you an armorer.
I would assume that causes confusion.
Yeah.
Well, it does. So my question is then, do you guys not have your own distinction? Because like Local 80, for instance, is grip, craft service, and layout board is part of craft service, and set medic and maritime. So that's Local 80. So it's still completely different. Like it's a spectrum, but like that's all Local 80. So like, are you part of Local whatever, and then you're not props, you're armorers, or are you part of props in that local?
I'm in my local, and then because I do special effects also, but then all my friends that are the prop masters know to call me, and I'm as an armor, and that's why they say, well, what's their rate? Because if you look online on the national scale, there isn't one for an armor, and they say, well, it's negotiable. Well, yeah, because you don't want to negotiate. I'm going to tell you how much I am. I'm $80 fucking an hour. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
And I had one director I had one UPM go, well, that's how much the director gets. Sure, I'm sure.
Cool.
But I don't care. He's not bringing anything to the table that's going to fuck somebody up. He's not going to bring something that's going to kill somebody.
Yeah, the actor's making $120 an hour, and you're fine paying that. The actor's not going to keep you from blowing somebody's hand off or killing someone.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. And that's in the safest environment. That's not even dealing with things where you're like trudging through a swamp with a gun and
exactly.
And no environmental stuff involved. Fucking
it's like the argument I have about fucking like EMTs making fucking like $12 an hour or teachers not making a living wage.
Right.
Yeah,
no insurance.
It's bullshit. People don't want to pay to take care of people, which again is why this strike is happening. So, or why it was going to happen.
Standing outside my door knocking, so which means something came that needs a signature. Let me be right back.
Copy that.
Well, Drew.
I mean, we're almost out of time anyway. It's almost 3. So.
Well, let's while he's gone. Are you doing some spoopy stuff tonight?
Oh yeah, there's a new map for Phasmo. That is absolutely happening tonight.
What is happening if you do spoopy this weekend?
I did, but I'm not going to be doing spoopy this weekend because Saturday we have Hamilton tickets and Sunday is our anniversary. So that leaves the first. I think you can
skip your anniversary when you're getting married again that following week.
We have a whole new Hunt a Killer box to go through. That is our
I've
anniversary
not done
present.
that yet. Is
Because
that
the first
fun?
anniversary is paper.
Is that
So
fun?
we're going through.
The Hunt Killers?
Yeah. Yeah. The
I
first
think
one.
Kelly and I should do it live on stream and put a clock up.
The first one that we did was, I think it's called The Woods, if I remember correctly. And like normally it's subscription. It's a subscription. So you get like a box a month and you get 6 boxes over 6 months.
But you can buy them
we-
separate now. There's so many places.
Yeah, yeah, you can buy the full one. So that's what we did.
Right.
So we did the Woods one, and then now we've got the Blair Witch one that we're doing.
That's a large box.
Yes, it is. And that's all of my steel cable locks. So they call them truck closures. So they use for locking semi-trucks. I have to return these 70 guns that we just used last week back to New York, and it came in a giant parts crate.
Yeah,
and it had a steel top that was locked on with those, and they didn't send me replacements, so I had to order my own from Uline, and that's what came in.
I got some
like why it required signature, I don't know, but I guess they do. So
Uline requires signatures on a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost 3 here. So, Matt, thank you so much for coming on, dude. It's great to see your face and talking to us and chatting about the biz.
He's the one who you had lost your bus, though. Am I correct? Is that this?
Oh, I was going to ask.
I knew you had a bus or an RV or something. A friend of ours that's on our show, along with a fan of their shows. Actually, he was on last week. All were part of that same festival.
Nice.
Yeah, so, Wasteland. I was like, you know who Daddy Warbus is? They're like, oh yeah. I was like, yeah, he might be on the show. Like, oh sweet.
Lost his baby. So we're sorry to hear about the loss of your child.
No, and it's not nearly as heartbreaking as I was talking to the guy who had the D's, which was the stage, which was that model of the D's from Waterworld.
Mm-hmm.
They bought it and they made it the stage. It was used for the wet bikini contest. And yeah, I saw him that it became just so badly decrepit. It was unsafe that they had to dismantle it and get rid of it. So Wasteland Weekend lost a stage, and that was his baby. And I remember telling him, I said, yeah, I could feel for you. I when the bus went down and the fuel tank broke out of it and I couldn't drive it anymore. It's like the death of the family. So I was like, I feel for you. I understand. It's an iconic piece for Wasteland, and all things must go. But
now you just need to build a tank.
What's that?
Now you just need to build a tank.
No, I want to build a tank.
Bigger. I want to build a bus bigger, and I want to make a way of
a double decker.
I want to put the top deck on top, but I want to have cranes that can go out and deploy motorcycles like an aircraft carrier.
That would be hot.
On and take off. And why is Dre?
Oh my!
Why
God.
is Drew shaking his head?
We're gonna have to tell Adam about that. Adam's gonna lose his fucking mind.
Oh my God!
Well, the last time I wrote it, Brian was rappelling off the side of the bus, so he had a line coming off the side of the bus. So he's standing sideways on my bus holding a machine gun, and he had one of my other tribe mates doing that. And he goes, yeah, we're going to fly to these guys. I went, okay. So now we know the world's gone to hell. Pigs are flying.
Yeah.
So our tribe was called the War Pigs.
Yeah, and Eric, do you know the lore behind this bus?
Yeah, we talked about this before.
Right.
So for those of you that don't know, actually, Matt, so he took a school bus.
The bus.
Yeah, close with the lore of the bus. I'm gonna close this door.
Okay, as far as how we. Oh, okay. So
yeah, he's gonna leave. He always does this.
He's gonna leave. So we wanted to go to Wasteland Weekend, and all I had was a Ford E250 van, and it was myself, my friend, and his girl. We're gonna go to Wasteland Weekend, and as we talked about it, more people heard we were gonna go, so then they wanted to go, and then it came to like 8 more people wanting to go, and I'm like, how in the hell am I gonna pack myself and 8 people in a freaking van? And me and him started talking. We're like, we need a bus. And he's like, we'll get a short bus. I go, that's like a van. I want a full-size bus. I want a full-size bus. We tried looking at the mid-size buses that were incredibly expensive. And one day, my friend who does limo party buses called me and goes, hey, I'm thinning out my Corral. I have a bus for sale. It's a flat nose. I'll sell it to you for $3,000. Like, sure. And he goes, yeah, it used to be the Buffett or Bust bus. I'm like, okay. So he had taken some of the benches so they would face to face and had tables in there. He took the tables out, I bought the bus for $3,000, but the minute I put my foot on the brake line was ripped right down the side, was just jetting brake fluid. I'm like, I can't drive this. So I take it to a guy to get the brake lines fixed. We strip out all the benches but 4. I sat there for 5 nights after I got the bus fixed. I sat here for 5 nights building a galley, a bathroom, 4 bunks, and another side galley. And I'm building this all in there out of spare parts, like the door to the deck of a boat.
Yep. You gotta make it look right.
The metal that you used in the bus between the passenger compartment and the driver, the cargo compartment, those were in there on the sides where the emergency windows were, and I made those gun positions with machine guns sticking out the sides. And I built this whole thing, and we're still screwing shit to the floor as we're driving to Wasteland Weekend. And we're driving out there, and I said, they didn't fix the brakes completely. The main brake booster was engaged the whole time when the battery died. So you have to stomp on the brakes, or all the O-rings are compressed. It'll just blow right past, which we found out became really fun when you're going down the Rockies.
No.
So, yeah, no. You can. I'm not a white knuckle.
I'd rather ride a horse through the Rockies.
Oh, my God. But, yeah, so we drove this thing all the way out there. On the way out, we stop at this truck stop. We're sleeping in the bunk. We stop for the night, and we get hit. The whole bus rocks. Some dude is backing his semi-trailer into the slot as opposed to the way they're supposed to, which is they start from the back and drive through. He backs up. He hits my bus. All I know is he hit my bus. I hear my buddy go, oh, he hit us. I sat bolt upright in the bunk, forgetting I was on the bottom bunk, caught the 2x4 that's bracing the top bunk across the nose, break my nose. I jump out of the bed. Now I'm really mad. I run across the bus. Now they're sleeping on the 4 benches up front, and they have a mattress stretched across, and they're all stretched out. And I'm running, and I literally levitated right over the top of them. And as I levitate, I get behind the big mirror that you can see all the students in, and I pull out my battle axe, and I fly out the door, not realizing this whole time that I sleep in the fucking nude and did not stop and put on pants. And I was reminded of this because I'm now yelling at this truck driver, banging on his cab door, trying to get him to come out of the car. And he's locking the doors and pulling the shades and shit.
You probably thought you were a lot lizard.
And no, my buddy goes, Matt, he's not going to come out of his truck with a naked man swinging a battle axe. And I went, I look at the battle axe, I went, I'm naked. And I looked, and I went, oh, fuck. I run across this entire gas station, truck stop, parking lot with my Johnson flying free in the breeze.
It's not the weirdest things happen to a truck stop.
I come back to the bus. I'm covering myself with the blade of the battle axe. And there's Allie laying in the bed still like, I'm so sorry. She goes, so am I. So am I. And I was like, sorry. And what he hit was he folded the fisheye mirror back, which shattered the right windshield. But he hit those little ribs on the side of the bus. That's all he hit. He came right down the side of the bus and he hit only those ribs. So he did an amazing job of not doing worse. But I know a broken mirror and a busted windshield. I'm on my way to Wasteland Weekend. And it's like, and a broken nose, which gets re-broken when I go to fight in the Thunderdome. And that's a whole different story there. But I gave that guy a bottle sword, so I'm happy.
Jesus Christ.
Sounds like a Tuesday in your world.
Sounds like a Tuesday. Yes. Well, dude, thank you again for being here. Really appreciate it. Eric, I hope you got your questions answered. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, for sure. And it's good seeing him again. We should just get together and go shooting since we're both in the Midwest.
There you go.
Yes.
Well, you're both,
I'm in Milwaukee. I mean, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, not far.
Not far.
No. But thank you. Right. And again, my opinion is only what I know. I don't claim to be a guru at this or not the word of whatever. I'm not the final word on this. I don't know what happened there, but yes.
It's all an opinion piece, but it's an opinion for someone who at least does it for a fucking living.
Yeah. Exactly. So
thank you very much for having me on. And,
absolutely, dude.
Hope everybody enjoyed the show.
Oh, yeah. So gang, back on single cam. So gang, thanks everybody for coming, hanging out. I will be back on in a couple hours because we're gonna start Spoopy Games around 6 tonight, so that Dark can hang out because she's an adult and she has to go to sleep. So, yeah, we'll see you around 6 p.m.
The new
Pacific Standard. Nice. If we have a slot, I'm not sure who else coming. I think Pox is going to be
Motherfucker boot
playing.
someone.
I think Pox is going to be playing VR. I know Dark will be here, so we'll see. Depends on if Serving Hands is done or not.
We'll trade on.
So, but thanks again, gang, and we'll see you later. Strength and luck. Keep your heads down.